is. There she is.
And she's a derivative, Jill.
Can I offer you some tea?
Good tea. Nice house.
Would you make me some of that Plomeek soup?
Hello, I'm Anti-Derivative Jill. Welcome to Plomeek Teatime number 57. Today we're talking about Star Trek, the motion picture, and I hope everyone's holidays are going really well. I know this isn't a Christmas movie, but it is a holiday release, and it did just recently celebrate its 44th anniversary, so this is a good time to talk about it. I especially want to talk about it this year because I'm pretty sure everybody's going to want to stream about it next year for the 45th. Since, of course, that's kind of a cooler number. My perception of this movie changed so much over the years from the first time I watched it to now, and I'm sure that has to do with the director's edition, going from watching the movie the way it was first cut to now. And so I am very excited to talk about it with you, and also with you in the chat, and also the panel. Thank you so much, Scotty R37, for being here.
Thank you for inviting.
Gavin Blackburn says you're looking sharp.
Cheers.
And
Admiral.
Also, we have a special guest, Cinema Gulp, here from his channel. Hello.
Hey, Jill and panel and chat. Hello.
Yeah. And also from our Tuesday streams, usually he can't make it on Fridays, but today we're lucky enough to have Pop Culture Curator, who has such a great eye for production, which is perfect for this movie because this movie went through production nightmare. Crazy stuff happened. So I'm sure he's got some stuff for us there.
Thank you for having me here, Jill. Good to see everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, or Happy Hanukkah, however you celebrate.
Oh, definitely. Yes. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everything. And Hanukkah, I think it just finished, right? Because I was watching William Shatner light candles. Oh. I'm not either, but Shatner was sharing the candle lighting on Twitter, and I think he posted the last one.
Okay.
That's how I know. It always goes back to Star Trek for me.
Oh, for sure.
And I do want to say hello to the chat. Prinkle Walker, thank you for being here. William Shakespeare starts us off talking about the movie. There's a critical chronological reference to the greatness of this film that seems most or all reviewers forget that both Voyager 1 and 2 probes were launched just 2 years before. That's right, 1977, before this film came out. That was on everybody's mind as we watched this film in theaters in 1979. That's right. Not only that, but the Voyager probe was actually a model built by NASA that they used for this movie, that they got permission from NASA to use from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which I think is so cool. The timeliness of modifying the Changeling story to TMP was so prescient to our own real history. It was a very haunting undertone to this film back then and still today. Yes, I think so too. I think that they're both wonderful stories. One is a evolution of another, and I can't imagine Star Trek without these two stories. They're important.
I always love when Star Trek refers to the National Aeronautics Space Administration as some old idea, something from so long ago. Like
it's ancient.
It's ancient.
So do you guys want to share with me your first experiences with this movie? Because I watched all of Star Trek all together for the first time. I binge watched all of Star Trek in just 1 year. So I really love hearing from people who experienced it differently from me.
Sure.
And I didn't get to see it in theaters until last year. So I think Last year was the first time I saw it when the special edition came out.
I saw it when before I was a teenager. So I saw it in the 80s on VHS. I want to say it was my cousins who used to babysit us rented this one, the second one, and possibly The Search for Spock. I can't remember. But I didn't, forgive me, everyone on the panel, I didn't know what Star Trek was. Because I didn't see the show. Obviously, as a kid, the show is long gone, at that point. So I didn't know what was going on. And I remember as a kid really liking, obviously, Wrath of Khan. But yeah, I went back in 2016. My friends and I had a Star Trek marathon where we watched every movie, even the new ones. And I really kind of fell in love with the first one. And a lot of my friends didn't like it as much. I kind of knew by that point. We had already started CinemaGope at that point. And I knew what kind of movie it was. I knew like Robert Weiss, had done Andromeda Strain, and I knew that it was kind of a 2001 Space Odyssey type of story. So I just loved it for its visuals, its directorial decisions, its editing. I think it's a really strong William Shatner performance. So yeah, I want to say maybe you could say my first real experience was in 2016, because as a kid I didn't know what was going on in the first one, because obviously it's a movie made for people that had watched the show. So, but
absolutely, and my I had been. Long running joke with me is that my parents sat me in front of a television when I was like 5 years old, and Star Trek was on, and they came back to give me lunch when I was 12, and I was like, and you are? So I knew Star Trek fairly well. And I think the first time I ever saw a motion picture was on an ABC Sunday night movie, but it was one of those 2-part special television events where they played the first half on Sunday night and the second half on Monday. And then later rediscovering it on VHS with the wonky special effects of Kirk coming out of the Enterprise, but you can see the scaffolding around the facade. The special extended edition by 13 minutes, and for the longest time, I sort of went with the old adage by many fans calling it the slow motion picture, and developed an appreciation for it.
Or the motionless picture. That's how I felt about it too the first time I saw it. The first time I watched this movie, I just thought, here are all my favorite Star Trek characters just staring at this anomaly, this V'ger, this creation, this machine. What are they doing? But I realize now that was just to show the enormity and the importance of V'ger.
Not only V'ger, but also of the Enterprise itself. Like, again, calling it the slow motion or the motionless picture, having the long sort of beauty pans of the Enterprise in sort of from Kirk's perspective or Scotty's perspective. Like, that is meant to show the scale of the Enterprise, and then later you get to see the scale of V'ger, and it's like, holy crap, that's how big the Enterprise was. But anyway, so that's I've warmed to it throughout the years, but I think the first time I watched it was with commercials in the 80s for the ABC Sunday night television event.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and the ABC cut was different from the theatrical, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think when I said good editing, I meant more like some of the visual style. I do think that the 20 minutes of just the shuttlecraft sort of flying around, listening to the brilliant Jerry Goldsmith music, by the way, which is phenomenal. But 37 minutes in before the Enterprise finally leaves dock, it takes its time for sure. So
they look at the Enterprise for 5 minutes. It might just
oh
feel
my god,
like 20.
Yeah, it's definitely, they're marveling in their own like visual there. Like, oh my god, we got to keep it longer, keep it going.
Well, how about you, pop culture curator? How did you first come to see the motion picture?
Well, once again, this shows my age. I'm much older, so I and a good friend of mine, we were already addicted to Star Trek. We had been watching the syndicated version every day after school at 6 p.m. And when it was announced, we had to wait during the entire production. We couldn't. I remember when it was announced that they were making it, and then waiting for the production, and then we heard when it was the shooting had wrapped. And I remember when they'd rush it to theaters. It was cold. It was winter. It was just before Christmas, right around now. And we were very excited. Walking out, we were like, it was mixed feelings. Like, okay, it wasn't quite the Star Trek we remember, but we still loved it because we knew it was Star Trek. I remember the main thing on our minds were we were hoping it was successful enough to get a sequel.
And it was. Well, it made it. It did make it there.
Yes, all these years later, yes. Fortunately, it did. Fortunately, Paramount saw the need to give it a second chance.
Wow, that is so cool that you got to see it when it came out. And I want to welcome Bird of Prey 5 to the panel.
Hello, world. Thank you.
Good to see you, Bird. Hope you're doing well.
I've been listening. Pretty much feel the same, I guess, as most people. A little slow to start. A lot of slow in the middle, but man, that view of the Enterprise, unbelievable.
That's what it is, because the Enterprise is the character. And
I've never grown tired of that sequence. I don't care if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes. The sequence mixed with the music, if I watched it right now, I would still be just excited as the first time I saw it. As a fan and waiting, like I said, we waited 2 years for this to come out to theaters. It was awe-inspiring to see that ship in such detail. It was, obviously they were showing off the retrofit because of the theatrical version of the model. They didn't want to use the model from the series. But it was amazing, and the soundtrack.
Are you talking about the one that they were building for Phase 2?
Well, what they did, obviously they had an 11-foot model which went to the Smithsonian. And the first thing they realized is they weren't able to use that for the theaters because it wasn't going to be high definition enough. So that's when they built this 22-foot version. It's used in the motion picture. But right, they were originally going to use it for Phase 2. But it was awe-inspiring. And with the music, in fact, I can tell you, as soon as we walked out of the movie, I immediately went and bought the soundtrack on LP.
Wow. Oh, wow. That is so cool.
Yeah.
To this day.
I think that was one. I think that was.
When I hear
Go ahead,
Enterprise. Sorry. To this day, when I hear Enterprise, I think back to this ship. The movie refit. Granted, I wasn't born. I know a lot of people think back to the original Nobody A, B, C, or D from the TV show with the gold deflector dish. But
Copper.
This is what I think of when I hear the Enterprise, is this movie edition. And it is the most beautiful ship, I think, ever created. As much as I love Klingon Bird of Prey, this ship has a special place.
I think that's why I love this movie so much, because going back to what pop culture was talking about, I could take that, like I was saying, it's very long, and they hold on the ship, they hold on to Jerry Goldsmith, but I love that they could hold on it longer, because pop culture was right. They finally are able to do this cinematically and make it look the way. I mean, it must have been incredible for them, especially like the cast at seeing it on the big screen. Like, wow, look how far we've come technology wise to be able to showcase this. And the music, I mean, hello, this guy did West Side Story, Sound of Music. He's going to have the right amount of music and really know how to use music in his movie. So,
yeah, William Shakespeare says the same thing. The Genius soundtrack by Jerry Goldsmith is among the top 1% of favored soundtracks across the genres, covered by international symphonies annually.
It's
amazing. That's why I mentioned that I didn't like them butchering it for Next Generation. I wish the Next Generation would have just had its own theme. they butchered this, they cut it down, and then they sped up the tempo, and I didn't like that. But that's my personal taste.
Well, and it's interesting because Jerry Goldsmith was originally approached to do the theme to the original series before Alexander Courage, and it was I was watching the 2001 Director's Edition DVD with the audio commentary, and it's got Jerry Goldsmith and Douglas Trumbull and Robert Wise, and I didn't even know I hadn't revisited that audio commentary in such a long time, and Jerry Goldsmith, the late great, said that it was very serendipitous for his career because he had been offered the original series theme and couldn't do it at the time due to scheduling conflicts, and was very pleased that he had another kick at the cat, as it were, to be able to work on the motion picture theme.
It's great because he was already a theatrical composer at the time, so that would have been quite a accomplishment if they could have. If they were able to have gotten him on the original series. But of course, as we all know, Alexander Courage did an amazing job on his own.
Well, and Alexander Courage does have does do some of the music. I know it says original theme by Alexander Courage, but there is a part where they play the original series theme, and Jerry Goldsmith didn't want to steal the thunder from that composer. And so it is actually conducted by Alexander Courage during one of the captain's logs.
Very cool.
Oh my goodness.
Probably, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I'm guessing it's the one where they were still within our solar system.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
After the wormhole.
Oh, right, because they go warp in the solar system to get out.
The wormhole scene is one of the least favorite scenes I've ever had
interesting.
in all Star Trek. I really hate it with a passion.
Wow.
You mean the idea of it, Bert, or do you mean the special effects,
One of
or
my
the idea, or
Special
the
effects,
But wait a
everything.
minute.
I wish I could cut it from TOS canon or originals, just Trek canon, and dump it in the same hole of Discovery.
But how could you not love?
That's my kryptonite, Bill.
Torpedo.
you know that Isaac Asimov was a consultant for that scene.
Something about it.
Yeah, exactly. Isaac Asimov was a scientific consultant specifically.
then he's a hack.
He helped with that scene, and he loved Star Trek, and he wanted to help. He wanted to bring his what he knew about science to the movie.
Tell us how you really feel, Bert.
At least it wasn't Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Well, I like him too, but he wasn't the consultant on this movie.
He doesn't think there's life anywhere in the universe except for here, so that he's immediately disqualified and discredited.
Really? I thought I was pretty sure that he learned from Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan says that if there isn't life out there, then that's an awful waste of space.
That's one way of putting it. Well, then he denied UFOs and any sort of UAPs, which.
Oh, okay. That's a different story. Because when
I saw an interview. They were talking about aliens in general, and they were talking about visitations and the footage that we've got, and he denied all of it straight down one after the other, and I was like, nope.
But Isaac Asimov was he's really interested in black holes, and so that's how he came to help with this particular scene. And so that there was no way to actually know the way that black holes worked exactly then. So he
theorized?
Yeah, he theorized exactly.
Well, we'll skip it when we get to that part of the slides because it offends Bird. Okay, no, never mind.
No, I don't want to.
No, you guys don't have to skip it. And reality is,
I've written articles to to that effect. If you can speculate about it in serious science fiction, you can speculate about it in science fiction. That's what it was. I think it's beautiful. But we can disagree on that for sure. But I want to read this from RRTNZ. He said he watched TOS as a little kid and saw the motion picture as a 9-year-old in 1979. After Star Wars and Superman, it went over my head. As an adult, I appreciate its ambition, if not its pace. Still prefer Wrath of Khan. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, RRTNZ. And yeah, definitely Wrath of Khan was an evolution of the motion picture. No doubt about that.
Thanks for the scratch too, man.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, and it's
thank
funny.
you everybody who's here. Yes, go.
Wow, isn't that New Zealand?
I think so.
Yeah, it is.
Very cool.
I just find it funny watching this movie because a lot of people, in terms of the pacing and whatnot, and some of the characters feel a little too serious, obviously with Spock having gone through the Collinear discipline, if you're referring to Colladar, Doctor. But yeah, and I like it because I get so happy in the last 5 minutes and everybody seems that they're back to normal. Everyone is just relaxed back onto the Enterprise. The relationships are all there. And it's the anticipation and the building to the end that I really learned to appreciate as opposed to bucked against. Because I know even Leonard Nimoy said that the character stuff really wasn't there. But based on the movie that Robert Wise was making, it was sort of a midlife crisis of trying to regain the youth of Jim Kirk by taking back the Enterprise. And when everything sort of falls back into place, it feels like Star Trek, but you don't get that until the last, final scene.
And I think Shatner and crew completely bought into the seriousness, because you can tell from the first frame when people start talking that they wanted it to be more serious. Everything from facial expressions to dialogue, you can tell they're going for serious sci-fi. But then I think Shatner, infamously, was like, after this movie, after he saw it for the first time, was like, "Oh, we're screwed." It's too slow.
No, I think it works because the reason is because they'd been apart for so long. The trio wasn't together. And so it was kind of like when they do come back together, they're a little bit off. Kirk is still Kirk, McCoy's still McCoy, but it's mostly
but you got to give Bones a beard. You got to give him a beard.
And a disco medallion.
That Bones beard is awesome.
I thought with that beard, he looked so old, and I thought that he had been on an alcohol binge.
Totally.
Well, he has a great collection.
It made him look old with that beard.
Possible.
That's true. And unfortunately, finding out afterwards that DeForest Kelley did go through a phase of alcoholism, and this movie kind of saved him.
Really? Wow.
Yes. He was talking about it at the conventions. A lot of the actors, a lot of the background actors were unemployed, and they had been for many years.
So you're saying making the Star Trek
not background, but
saved
DeForest Kelley? Yes,
DeForest Kelley from
yes.
Wow, that's incredible.
Right. And it showed. You could tell he looks more back to, if you think about it, he looks more back to, I guess you could say healthier in Star Trek 2. He looks kind of like very lightweight here, and his face looks very drawn. I always thought he looked a little ill and older than what he should have been.
Yeah,
by the time they get to Star Trek 2, he looks better.
I couldn't tell the difference between him and Carl Urban.
Oh my gosh.
Carl Urban does a good job. Come on.
Except about 20 years of age, I guess.
Okay, so I have to thank Last Son of K for the thumbs up.
Nice.
Super sticker.
Very cool.
Thank you so much, Last Son of K. And also thank you again to RRTNZ. Very generous to give another super chat. How many Cardassians does it take to change a light bulb? Depends if you see 4 lights or 5.
Nice.
Right. Chain of command joke here. Thank you very much.
Can I ask the tried and true Trekkies, which are all poor view in this room. One thing, rewatching it last night, and I know people have talked about this before, but maybe I didn't know if it was an aesthetic decision from Weiss or not. But why the odd uniforms? Was it just the era? Like the uniforms are so disco-y.
I can only speculate.
I think the reason why the uniforms, from what I heard over the years, they were trying to be too much like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
And as we know in TOS, the reason why we got a lot of the color that we did, which is so lacking in this movie, but for TOS, it was that push to sell color televisions, because color TV was new at the time, and all the shows were, I mean, it said, you know, in living color. So that was the selling point of TV. By the time we got to the 70s, not only did they pull a lot of that, they desaturate with a lot less colors. We saw the bridge and everything and the clothing, but even the film itself, the film stock, is different. You'll notice that it doesn't have the color saturation the 60s film did. By the time they got to the 70s, they went from the 3-strip Technicolor process to just 1 strip because it was more cost efficient. And yes, it was cost efficient, but unfortunately, you lose a lot of detail and saturation. But the suits specifically was because they were trying to be cerebral.
Yeah,
that's good answer. Yeah, it makes sense.
The pastel.
And I did not like. 70s. Yeah, I didn't like the. Which I guess I can say it now. I didn't like the hardware in this movie. I didn't like the new communicators. I didn't like the new phasers. But fortunately, they corrected all that for Wrath of Khan.
What about the tricorders? I thought the tricorders were okay.
Oh, the tricorders were serviceable. But I mean, I still remember we were disappointed because we didn't see any phaser fire. We wanted to see somebody shoot a phaser, and we didn't see that. But then if you look at behind the scenes photos of scenes that were cut out, when the Aliyah probe appeared aboard the bridge, the 2 security guards standing by the turbo lift did pull out their phasers, but I don't know if they shot or not, or if Kirk just said, don't shoot. But if you look behind the scenes, in the stills, you'll see the security guards with the phasers drawn, which they did not do in the movie.
Okay, in that deleted scene, one of the security guards dies, right?
Yeah,
I think so. But I think he fires at the probe and gets killed.
And then the reason that was removed from the film is just so that it wouldn't cause any confusion at the end when they say that the only casualties are Decker and Ilea.
Not to mention the Sonak.
Commander Sonak.
And the lady who was in the transporter.
Who forever will remain nameless.
Oh no, there's contradicting thoughts as to who that was. They say Robert Wise thinks that it was the navigator, and that's why they have to get Ilea at the last moment. But then in the novelization by quote unquote Gene Roddenberry, I think it was written by Alan Dean Foster. Actually,
yes, it was.
It is supposed to be Vice Admiral Lori Sienna, Kirk's fiance. Or former.
When Kirk messages Starfleet back to tell them about the accident, he does mention the name, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't say. He says Sonak's family can be reached through the Vulcan consulate.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they don't say anything about her, but Grace Lee Whitney thinks it's Kirk's fiance too, and that they were supposed to have a scene where Kirk and his fiance were running naked at the beach, but
trying to compete with the movie 10, I guess.
But they wanted to keep the PG rating, I guess.
Good. Yeah, thank God.
So Matt G just tipped $1.05. And he says, the temporary demotions in the movies make no sense because they don't do it in Wrath of Khan. Spock isn't demoted to commander in Wrath of Khan because Kirk is in charge.
Well, and I found that interesting because Kirk is addressed as Admiral when he goes to Starfleet Command in San Francisco. And then when he arrives on the bridge, everyone's like, Captain, Captain. But I guess they refer to him by the rank that he would be while he was master of the ship. But I found that interesting as well.
Well, I think the reason why is... Go ahead. Sorry, Jill. Well, I think I was going to say that you normally, if you're going to refer to the person like Mr. or Mrs., when it comes to rank, you would say Admiral Kirk because that is his rank. But while he's acting captain, you call him captain because he's captain of the ship.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense to me. And but my overall theme to this whole thing is that we do know that this story is an evolution of the changeling, because in that case, Nomad was sent to sterilize, and the eventually when it met up with another machine, and then
The other.
V'ger meets up with the machine planet and becomes an intelligence because of that conjunction. But here the main objective is a connection with the creator. There's a connection with the creator for Nomad, but here that is the main objective. There's no it's not going out to, it doesn't want to destroy, it wants to connect with the creator, but it does destroy in pursuit of that objective.
And that's the guy that was originally supposed to play Spock's replacement.
Oh, which guy? Oh, this
That
guy
on the
right
left.
here.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yes,
he was
you're
going to
right.
play Lieutenant Zahn or Zahn XON. However that was pronounced.
Right, in
So-
the you're talking about phase 2. So who was supposed
Phase
to be
2
Vulcan?
and this movie, because it wasn't until it was the last minute that Leonard Nimoy accepted after he had that lawsuit with Paramount about his likeness being used, and they agreed on a settlement. And then it was at the last minute he said, "Okay, I'll do the movie."
Mhm.
And this guy was sidelined.
Right, and so he got this role, and then that's all he gets.
That's all he gets.
But yeah, I'm glad that Spock figured it out. I mean, Leonard Nimoy figured it out, because it wouldn't be
He
the same
deserved it.
without the story. Wouldn't be
Right, and he
there
deserved the
would be no
royalties.
story here.
Yeah, they all deserve royalties because it was true. Their image was being sold, merchandising was going through the roof and selling like hotcakes, and none of them were getting any money out of it. So yeah, he deserved it.
Mhm.
And this guy, if you look up still images, and there's even, if you look up on YouTube, you'll find test footage of makeup and wardrobe from phase 2, and you'll see this guy in the Vulcan makeup.
Oh, well, what's his name?
Gautreau,
So
Mark Gautreau, David.
I'm not
Gautreau?
sure. I just know that he was supposed to be the Vulcan on this.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Don't know if he ever did conventions or not.
Well, yeah, in another universe, that lawsuit never got settled, and he became a more important character.
Yeah, but search for Zahn doesn't roll off the tongue the same way.
Zahn is gone.
Zahn is gone.
That works better. Let's see.
I'm going to refill my hot chocolate. I'll be right back.
And it's interesting with the digitization of the the Klingon D7 cruisers. They were initially, there was, because they didn't want to blow them up, because after Star Wars they were like, we've seen spaceships blow up, and they wanted to digitize it and become sort of information packets within V'ger. And at the end there was a cut sequence that was once V'ger dissipates and explodes and goes to a higher level of consciousness or what have you, these 3 Klingon ships were supposed to come out and then have a final battle with the Enterprise, and they were like, we don't need it.
No way.
A final battle?
Yeah.
Really?
That would have been really different.
Yeah, it would have completely. It would have been like, and here is the rest of a completely different movie.
Mm-hmm.
That, I think that would have been kind of anticlimactic. Like, here we are now.
Yes, because it's not
We're
the
just
type
here.
of story it was trying to tell. Yeah.
And we do get the Klingon redesigns with the prosthetic foreheads, not just grease pencil mustaches and Fu Manchus.
That's right. Totally. That's the first time you see him kind of as I know them as. Yeah.
And one of the many
Yeah, the
redesigns. We have redesigned Vulcan, very different from the original, and different from the director's cut, the 2001 cut, to make it look more like Vulcan as opposed to just a backlot with a matte painting, which apparently was not up to snuff to Robert Wise's liking. And one of the major things that they changed based on dialogue from the original series is that in the original special effects, there were multiple moons, But Spock had said on an episode that Vulcan has no
Vulcan
moon.
has no moon.
Right, to Uhura.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not surprised?
I think
There's-
that's Dame
there's
Judith
space-
Anderson.
They're space stations.
That's no moon.
It's a space station.
But
Sorry, I'll see myself up.
No, you can stay.
but the problem is that we know that Earth needs a moon in order for life to thrive on it because of the way it regulates the tides and things. So I kind of like DC Fontana's solution that she puts in Yesteryear that gives Vulcan a sister planet that they orbit each other. So I
There
would
is
have liked
supposed
that to be brought to this.
There
I
is a
love this
supposed
shot, by the
theory
way.
that there is a theory that life could still exist on Earth without a moon, but it just be in a different form than what we know.
And yeah, of course, there's a possibility of that. And of course, we can't really prove it because we're the only example of
All right.
civilization thriving that we know of.
Yes.
But I would like to get into that one.
Wow, San Francisco looks so clean there.
Yes, it is a
Look at the
beautiful
sky.
shot. Yeah.
You can always tell a
Yeah,
Star
I
Trek
think it's
fan. You can always tell a Star Trek fan because I've walked the Golden Gate Bridge many times. Obviously, it has a walkway for pedestrians. And that hill that's on our left in that photo where Starfleet is supposed to be located, right now it's just a big mountain and it's got a lookout at the top where people park their cars and look at the hill. But you can always tell a Star Trek fan because when you're on the bridge, they're all staring up there at that mountain.
Nice.
Well, you know, the
Otherwise,
things that make it a, these little watermarks that you have on this picture here, on this video, they kind of make it look like methane emissions are
Yes.
coming up out of the city.
It's the poop
Those
map.
So
Well,
it does look
yeah.
a little bit more realistic as today's San Francisco.
Yeah, those
Oh, we're-
watermarks are just for copyright purposes, so I don't
Of
get
course,
so
yeah.
Paramount
That's on
doesn't get
YouTube,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they look wonderful as far as adding to, a look.
Yeah, and oh my goodness, the chat is just incredible today, and I don't know how to navigate, but I do want to say hello to Mr. Lundell and Gap After Dark, and also Mr. Miles, who has the perception I had of this movie when I first watched it. He says TMP is awful. It's too slow. You could play it at 2 times speed and it would still feel slow. Oh my gosh.
One of my favorite things about Star Trek the Motion Picture before I developed an appreciation for Star Trek the Motion Picture is that I said it was a movie that you could turn on and then walk away from, go do your laundry, go do your grocery shopping, come back, and it's only halfway done.
Right. And Princess Fiona says this is the best Star Trek movie by far. Love 2 and 4, but this movie is revelatory.
And it is with the reverence to sci-fi, and its influences from 2001 are certainly worn on its sleeve. But this is the one that really pushes the science fiction, with Isaac Asimov being the scientific advisor. I think that this...
Absolutely.
I think you need Star Trek the Motion Picture to sort of push it more into sci-fi, and then you can go back to the roots of an action-adventure show kind of thing.
I totally agree.
Totally agree. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
they were trying to they wanted to make sure that they were not perceived as another Star Wars.
Yes.
Right.
Even though the impetus to create this movie was Star Wars, but they did separate themselves. They did say we're Star Trek.
achieved.
We're going to we're science fiction, and we're going to take that all the way. And they did, not just in the science from Isaac Asimov, but also in the language, because we had Jimmy Doohan creating the Klingon language, and then we had a professor from UCLA creating the Vulcan language.
Was it Mark
And
Oakland?
It says Hartmut Scharf
Okay.
instructed the Vulcan language.
Which is, and I love it because it carries over into Wrath of Khan as well. The way that the Vulcan language is sort of represented on screen is that they spoke all of their dialogue in English, and then it's dubbed over with something that would phonetically look like it was being spoken, but while still maintaining the lip movement of English language. And they do that with like when at the Kolinar, and then with Saavik in Wrath of Khan. And I appreciate that. I like it. I don't know how many other times we've seen Vulcan language, and Bird would probably be a little bit more knowledgeable on that, just because he's doing the rewatch on Enterprise. I don't know if they do employ that on Enterprise. Do you? I don't recall. Bird, do you know?
Not that I recall.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
And hello to Mr. Brown Lyons. Great to see you here today. And everyone in the chat. There's just such an incredible amount of it. So let's see, where are we?
And big thanks to LDG Free the Net for gifting out in this holiday season 5 Anti-Derivative Jill memberships.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to LDG. Thank you, Scotty R37, for pointing that one out. And hello to Matt G. Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU. And Decker was locked up in real life. Yeah,
Yes.
I was expecting Scotty to have already mentioned that, but he hasn't yet.
I was waiting. I was waiting to
you were
see.
waiting. You were waiting to see him. That
Yes.
makes sense.
Yeah. Nope. Total sex pervert. But whatever.
Well, yeah, you're right, Mr. Londell, but they didn't know that they got the physics wrong back then. This was Isaac Asimov imagining what black holes were like before we really got the answers from Stephen Hawking.
Can you go back one shot to that exterior view there? Yeah. I was watching a review once of this. Well, either one of these, and it was an artist. It was a matte painter who was known for a lot of Hollywood movies, and they had him judge these matte paintings and what did he think about them. And he thought they were. I remember he thought they were okay. What he didn't like was they didn't establish where the sun is located, so the light looks like it's coming from all directions.
Oh,
I know it's nitpicking,
thank you.
Oh well.
No, I'm
totally about that.
Hey, but you know what? In a Star Trek film, you can nitpick where the sun is because it's science fiction. We should know where light is supposed to come from. So that
what time of day, that kind of thing. Yes.
And hello to Jim's Landscape LLC Commodore.
Oh, Jim.
Great to see you today.
I mean, it's pretty clear. Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's pretty clear that there are ceiling lights, so there's definitely multiple light sources.
Oh no, I meant outside. Exterior, not inside the hangar. I'm talking about outside, the sky, that kind of thing.
Right.
The horizon.
I think it all looks great. I mean, it's not seamless.
I do too.
But it's just so pretty, and it's just surreal.
Well, and that's in terms of hey, Brogu.
Hello, Brogu.
This is one of those things where, like, in contrast to Star Wars, and Star Wars had that lived-in sort of aesthetic to it, where things were busted and used, and so it felt like it was actually an inhabited place. I like how the motion picture and Star Trek subsequently is no, we keep it clean. We like to keep things clean around here. We'll upgrade when we can.
I'd almost dare to call it more prequelish. You know, like
sure,
a little cleaner and. Yeah.
I do want to make sure, because I'm so happy we have our very own scientific consultant here in the chat with Princess Fiona, who is a physicist, who lets me know that we don't know how black holes work now either, sweetie. It's still all theoretical. So that is an important thing to notice. And so we do have an idea of how we think it works, and the math seems to be fine. So thank you very much, Princess Fiona.
I'm sorry, Jill, I do have to go. I just had a quick few minutes here. So thank you so much.
I'm so glad that you got a chance to be here for a few minutes. And
I'm glad to. Please don't do anything. Just keep going.
No, I will keep going, but you have a really cool channel, and I really love it quite a bit. So please tell me what you're doing. You're having a bed life today, right?
Yes, we should have bed life this afternoon, and generally Mondays and Fridays we do bed life, the live stream, and Wednesdays we do Enterprise episodes. We're in the middle of season 2. We just started season 2.
Season 2, man, I need to check into that more. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today to talk about the motion picture. Is there anything about this movie that you want to say before you got to go?
It's just easily my least favorite of the movies.
Wow.
As much
Oh,
as I like it,
Wow.
it's at the bottom.
Worse than Star
You
Trek
like
5, huh?
Final Frontier more, huh?
I love Star Trek 5.
Me too.
Oh, okay.
really cool. That's the kind of lore that I like to build on my channel. Is everybody's favorite Star Trek movies and how they rank them. So thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
I'll see you
Take care,
around.
bird.
See you
Oh,
around
and
the
Jill,
galaxy.
yesterday, I am so sorry. I thought I had the link up for my panel. I didn't want to not send it to you. I literally thought I had the link up. I thought I had pinned it.
Oh
But I
yeah,
didn't find
that's
out till
okay.
later that it wasn't pinned. So that was my screw up. So
Well, there will
sorry.
be more streams in the future, and I can't wait. I'll be
Okay,
able to
it
join
was
the panel
nothing
one of these
personal.
days.
It was
Of
my
course.
mistake. Sorry.
No,
Take care, guys.
No,
Cheers,
Thank you.
bird.
no, no,
Bye-bye,
no.
bird.
Good to see you as always.
Take care.
Yeah, see you, man.
Bye. Oh, okay. So now let's get back on to what we were doing. Thank you so much, Bird of Prey 5, for joining us for that. He always has such great insights and things on Star Trek.
And these matte paintings were actually redone for the director's cut and the special edition as well. And one of the little
Really?
Easter eggs that is present during this particular scene is that there is an original series shuttlecraft that launches from the top right-hand corner that you can catch definitely more clearly on the most recent edition.
Oh, that's cool.
That is pretty neat. But
James
this is
Coulter
where
says the 70s were drab.
I guess so. And Mr. Miles says this is the movie that started the hit and miss curse of Trek movies. One bad movie, one good movie. Yeah, that is the prevailing kind
For
of
some
little.
people.
Yeah, some people say the
Yeah, I
odd number
don't
of
think
movies.
Search for Spock
I-
is bad.
I don't either.
I
I
like Search
love
for Spock.
all of them now.
I think they were all solid until 5, but I seem to be the outlier on that one.
Oh, a lot of people
Oh, I
have
agree with you about 5.
have a distaste for 5, but
I have to change my headcanon in order to enjoy 5, and for that reason, I know it is bad.
I admire its ambition, but it ran out of money, and it shows. It ran out of money. So
No, they took it away from him because they saw the
Oh,
dailies.
that's
They
it,
said
that's
this looks
it,
like shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
you're
knew
right,
they
you're
were
right.
losing money.
well, there was a writer's strike too, wasn't there?
No, he
Oh,
had it as part of his contract after Nimoy finished 3 and 4 that he was going to get the next movie. He was actually originally going to get the next 2 movies, but after they saw the disaster of 5, they knew that everybody agreed. Yeah, let's not let him get anywhere near the director's camera or the camera again.
Well, there you go. Yeah, William Shatner's a great actor, directing. Well, anyway, Matt G says, for $1, one of my favorite lines in the movie is, "Does the new sick bay meet with your liking?" It does not.
Very
that's right.
McCoy.
It's more computer programming. It's too digital for him, I guess. Oh, I haven't played all of my clips up to this point in the movie. One of these clips was specially requested by Scotty R37, which is not of this movie. It is from a movie called Free Enterprise, and it is a depiction. Free Enterprise is a tale in the life of Robert Meyer Burnett, and so you get to see him in his childhood and how he evolved as a young adult. And here is that depiction of him at the movie theater trying to get in to see the motion picture.
No, it's Mark.
This is my movie. Don't you understand? The human adventure is just beginning.
I made a mistake. It is Mark, his friend. Mark, of course. I mean, sorry about that.
No, that's good.
This is my movie. Don't you understand? The human adventure is just beginning.
Well, it's going to have to begin without you.
Yeah, I forgot how the kids look.
Sir, it's on a precise heading for Earth.
And then we also, so that was our first moment of that.
Why aren't the transporters working on the Enterprise? I do like this, and I like this the spaceship mechanics of it, and the sort of how long things take. And it's funny in the audio commentary with Robert Wise, he's like, this is the infamous shot of the Enterprise when they're pulling up, and I know a lot of people don't like this particular sequence, but I don't care, and I think it works. In fact, we could have gone for longer. And he talks about the special effects for it and how it was, like, at the time in 79, for it being a cinematic experience, he really wanted to treat the fans to be able to see the ship and give it through the perspective. So while you were sitting in the theater, you felt like you were actually on the shuttle heading towards it. And the pacing of this, and again, it is paced, absolutely, but it is intentionally done so, and it's supposed to be as credit and tribute to the people who loved Star Trek in the first place, while giving it that cinematic boost.
That's how I feel about the whole movie.
Yeah, and this scene in particular is almost like Kirk and Scotty going on like a ride, one of those rides where you just look at things and just look and see how beautiful the setting is of things, and it's kind of like they're stand-ins for the audience for the first time seeing it.
Well, this whole movie is very much like a Universal ride. I know this isn't Universal, it's Paramount, but when I went to Universal, they have these rides that are kind of like little stories, and they take you through a whole adventure. And this is like that for me. After I went to that theme park, and then I saw the director's edition, I saw it through that lens.
What's interesting is it's really great that they cleaned it up, because at the time you could really see the matte lines around everything that was superimposed, like the shuttle, because it was done with blue screen at the time, and it stood out. But we accept that, we were fans. But now with the newer versions, they've cleaned it up. You can't see it at all. And also, Goldsmith really worked hard on this theme. It was rejected a couple times by Robert Wise. He said it's not bombastic enough. The music needs to tell a story. And then finally, he got the version that he liked.
Definitely.
I think it's my favorite score. I know a lot of people love James Horner with Khan, but for me, this is the one. I'm just a Jerry Goldsmith guy. Like one of my prize vinyls is the Omen soundtrack.
Ooh.
Yeah, mine is Planet of the Apes.
Nice.
Oh, go back to the guy who kind of looks like Balky from Perfect Strangers. So that guy who kind of looks like Balky from Perfect Strangers. That is his last name is Van Zandt, and so he is one of the E Street Band's brother, Stephen Van Zandt, and he also was speaking of, we were discussing John Carpenter earlier. He was at the time married to maybe not at the time, but he was married to Adrienne Barbeau.
You talking about before John Carpenter or after?
I'm not 100% sure when the nuptials took place, but that guy who kind of looks like Balky from Perfect Strangers was married to Adrienne Barbeau.
I'm so glad you wanted to.
He became a pretty big he's a pretty big TV actor too, in like the 80s and 90s, decently anyway.
It was recently his birthday, I think.
And in the theatrical cut, you didn't get to see him. He got completely cut from the movie. He was fighting for Decker, because he's been with the ship every minute of her refitting. But this is where another line that was cut, that was added back from Uhura, which is one of the best lines of the movie, which I don't know why it was cut. Ensign, the possibilities of our returning from this mission in one piece may have just doubled.
Which sort of undercuts Decker's sort of role. Like, I suppose he's an excellent supervisor for a refit, but not necessarily the one that you want taking part in a deep space mission.
Yeah, I don't know if they mentioned it, but I got the feeling this was his first command.
Well, Scotty even says he's unseasoned.
Yeah.
And recommended
70s hair.
But it was his command, and Kirk kind of does step around him.
And there he is.
Thank goodness he does. And oh, hey, I finally caught up to. Oh wait, here we go. Wait a minute. Princess Fiona has some important science stuff. I can't.
Yeah.
Not just a moon, but an unusually large one. Without it, we would not have the tidal pools where life has evolved. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
The theory is actually that if life was able to evolve because of the unusual size of the Earth's moon, the theory is that life was able to evolve because of the unusual size of Earth's moon. Had it been smaller, the tidal differences would not have been enough to give life a chance.
The cosmic ballet continues.
I have to, since we're talking about the moon, it's
Mhm.
it's like an itch that I've got to scratch. But
sure.
we have found ancient text and drawings. We've heard where we've seen those ancient caveman drawings on walls and stuff, and through history books and legends, that they claim there was a history at a time where the Earth before no moon. So it's kind of like how we say, like this is the year 2023 BC or AD. For a while, they went by before moon and after moon before we had adapted this calendar. I don't know if it's true. It's just that yes, it is. That's why I was saying that life would be existent, but it would be different.
Well, I
That's
always thought that the moon formed from the creation of the Earth, and
Well, some people thought that a comet hit. I know there's different theories. A comet hit the Earth, and then a chunk of the Earth flew out and created the moon.
That's what I thought.
But the theory I've heard that seems to be that, well, like I said, I don't know if it's true, but the moon was constructed and brought here. Just as, so in order to
that's
form the planet.
That's the theory that is presented in the movie. I just saw it. Have you seen Moonfall? What is it called?
Moonfall, and I only got through a few minutes of it, but it's terrible. But I've heard of the theory since before then.
I thought it was cute.
Well, it's good for it's special effects, but I didn't like the annoying sidekick. It just got on my nerves. I don't like that stereotype.
Oh, okay. Well,
but that theory's been around a long time.
I think it grows on as the movie goes on.
Okay. I think he had a flatulent problem, wasn't it? I think that maybe what got on my nerves.
I don't remember that. Did he? I don't. Yeah, if that's true, I completely missed that.
Well, that's good for you.
But I want to thank LDG again for gifting 5 memberships, because I got to the part where I can see who got a free membership. So Cam's Crash Courses, congratulations for becoming a member. Deej Odyssey, cool. So Deej could possibly be on my next membership stream. All Jedi right. Bill, also awesome. And Deranged Lunatic also got a free membership, in addition to Positive Candor. Congratulations to everybody who got a free membership, courtesy of LDG at Free the Net. Pretty soon, check out his channel. He's going to be having a very important live stream, completely overhauling his entire channel and everything he's doing. Apparently, all of his dreams are coming true. And if you want to know how, click the bell. When he's going live, because you never know. He usually deletes his live streams. So, Eugene Bird says, too much Beeger home wasted time. Can I watch the one with Vulcan Christy Alley instead? Well, yeah, you can watch whichever Star Trek movie you like. And Christy Alley. Yeah, you can watch Wrath of Khan. It's wonderful. Christy Alley. I love her too. And Mr. Londell says Trek has longer pedigree than Star Wars. There's no way the two franchises could ever be confused. Agreed.
Well, not for us fans. But I know people who confuse them who don't know the difference. They'll say that black guy, that Darth Vader, that's from Star Trek, and I'm like, no.
Well, things get even more confusing when you're watching Spaceballs and you've got a Star Trek actor and you don't realize you're not watching Star Wars. But no, we won't confuse it, but plenty of my family members do. And so
Yeah.
Star Wars socks, even though I'm not a Star Wars fan. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm not a fan, but I'm not as big of a fan as I am with Star Trek. Mr. Londell says there were guys wearing togas in this scene. Pretty disconcerting. And so I really love this scene because even though Decker is completely, he's angry about this, but he doesn't go overboard. He doesn't throw a tantrum about it. He's very professional still.
Yeah.
He still says, "I, Captain."
If this were newer Trek, I'm sure he would have thrown a fit.
Well, yeah, but you got to remember too
Exactly.
is that if he shows too much of a hissy fit, and then he's going to realize, wait a minute, I'm going to have to serve under this guy for this mission. I better not have said that.
And
So,
it does
yeah,
come.
it's still respect,
It
right?
comes kind of full circle too with his line at the end, like, "Hey, you wanted the Enterprise, I want this."
Right. And there was, by the way, they did reuse some props from the original series, including those transporter pads. They were repurposed and redesigned.
Oh, for which? How were they reused?
From the TOS, they because I know a lot of people think that they threw everything out and got rid of everything, but there was a few things left that they were able to repurpose for this, including the transporter pad.
Oh yeah, it was a journey.
Redressed it.
It was a journey from the original series, what they used from the original series to create Phase 2, and then all of the production from Phase 2 leading into this movie, which I think they even included the budget that they used for Phase 2 into this movie, making it seem like this movie used way more money than it did.
Correct.
Well, and I think adjusted for inflation until Star Trek 2009, this was still the most profitable of the Star Trek franchise.
Yeah, on one of our streams, I put a scale up that showed how much the movies made, and I mean, no offense, everybody, but the TNG movies were at the bottom.
Well, we can't argue numbers.
Well, not only that, I agree with those being at the bottom.
It was like on autopilot by the time they got there. I mean, I've said it before, but to me, they were all like just extended episodes. They weren't cinematic like these movies, in my opinion.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I hate to say it, I think Generations is the only one that not only caught buzz but made money, and it was because of how it was marketed.
I think it
in
cut out.
1994.
Well, it wasn't as profitable as the motion picture. It did catch. Like, you have to think.
No, I meant for the TNG movies. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's the only one that had interest and people's interest, and I think made money, because I know like First Contact didn't make money, Insurrection didn't make money, and Nemesis bombed.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Sorry.
Jonathan Frakes.
No, it is. It is. Everybody's interested in.
Yeah, I don't know why they handed Jonathan Frakes the director job. I've never figured that out.
What? Well, he came into his own as a director eventually, but at first, yeah, he wasn't the best.
Where? I know he did Thunderbirds, the movie, and that bombed too. So what has he done that is successful? I'm curious.
Star Trek Next Generation episodes.
Yeah, he did good in the episodes. Maybe not so much the movies. Maybe he was good at the episodes of the Next Generation, but it didn't translate to the movie somehow. I'm not sure, but I think that those would be their own live streams to figure out what went wrong with each of those movies.
Like, the most accomplished.
I think Red Letter Media put it to say it really well. If you watch any of those.
Oh,
yeah, I just watched them this morning. They have a new one out. Another Star Trek trivia.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah. But they break down how the TNG movies, like what they did wrong and stuff. It's pretty good.
Like, the most accomplished of the TNG directors was probably Stuart Baird, and he was the least qualified to direct a Star Trek picture because he didn't even know the character's names. He thought that Geordi was an alien. Like, Like, and
Great.
I don't like Stuart Baird, despite the fact that he is one of the most an incredible Academy Award winning editor for many films. He is very
I think he did
accomplished.
Reanimator. I think he did some of the Lovecraft movies.
Well, he did Bond movies. Like he's really. It just seems like it was a contractual. He was going to get a director's gig, and they threw him Star Trek. But in terms of balancing, and as Jill said, this could probably be a whole other stream unto itself.
Good. So, but I guess I'll tie it back to how great Robert Wise is, because I'm just flipping. There's this 800-page book, Return to Tomorrow, I think it's called. Is that what it's called? Return to Tomorrow. And it's 800 pages of Star Trek the motion picture. So whatever we don't cover today, it's in this book somewhere. But one of the things just flipping through it, I randomly found was what a good relationship Robert Wise made with the crew immediately. How quickly he became part of the Star Trek family. Nichelle Nichols says he was a sweet, soft-spoken, gentle-faced, lovely man who looked at you and talked with you, who listened to what you said and considered it, who argued points with you without anger, who came to ask you questions, and yet who knew what he was doing and had a firm grasp on it. I thought he did a brilliant job. And so he wasn't a Star Trek fan at first, but it like with most great people who work with Star Trek, they grow into it. And I think he's lovely.
Well,
but I also need to say, the people who work on Star Trek who decide to do their homework, it always works out for the best. But I want to say hello to Gorilla's Random Thoughts. He says, "Hey, can't. I'm very busy at work, and it's been a FU kind of day with everything. But also wanted to say, look, more ship porn times 1,000."
Hello, Gorilla.
Hey, Gorilla.
Yes.
And yes, this is definitely ship porn. I really appreciate the design of the refit Enterprise, and one of the interesting things that I really enjoyed about the refit is the acknowledgement that because the Enterprise was going to be traveling outside of the solar system, if the sun or a star is not there to light the ship, the decision was made that it should be its own light source. And so with the running lights that happen, modeled after airplanes, commercial airplanes, I really like how it stands out and it's well lit, and it gives part of the aesthetic of what we'll see in the Federation moving forward with the running lights and not hiding like with cloaking devices, but looking majestic.
Amazing on the big screen, absolutely. It's just something you really can't appreciate on the television screen.
And this is one of the most eerie, frightening things that ever happened with the transporter, and finally gives credence as to why McCoy doesn't necessarily like traveling methods.
Right.
Exactly. And Princess Fiona corrected me earlier in the chat. I think I must have said it was PG. It is a G-rated movie. I made a mistake there. Thank you so much, Princess Fiona, for that. And Don Ranger Power is also here. He says, I relived the motion picture, the director's edition on Paramount Plus 8 days ago, right on its 44th anniversary. And it's my #1 version of that movie. Also among my honorable mentions, TOS and overall Star Trek movies. Nice. And also hello to Jamalama. I also see you are here today. Also Keith E says on the History Channel, when they say ancient astronaut theorists say yes. Have they ever said no?
If you tune into Ancient Aliens and at the end of the episode they're like, no, never mind, it wasn't very good. It's like the joke with Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock. It's like, can we turn to the camera at the end of the movie and say, well, we didn't find him?
Well, that's where I would. Oh, this is where I miss Cardinal Sin, because I would say, instead of watching the History Channel, I'd make an Inch of the Fringe plug, and oh my goodness, I'm sorry.
Gone but not
I
forgotten.
do miss him. No, and we should never forget him. And he came to mind immediately.
I did.
Because he presented the material in a much more scientific manner than the History Channel does. Even if it's still just theories and stuff. The Comic Relief Crusaders here. Hello.
Hello there.
Hello, CRC.
And also, Dave G Sound. I'm just trying to catch up with saying hello because the chat is so amazing today. I can't keep up.
It's
you guys
so
are
good to
too
see
cool.
everybody. And hey, DG.
Yeah, and having amazing conversations. There's like 12 or 15 different new live streams being generated by the ideas in the chat right now. I can't even. But you're right. This is the horror part of the movie. So horrific that Janice Rand has to turn away from it. And Grace Lee Whitney said, like I said earlier, she said that it was supposed to be Kirk's fiance. And so and so that would have been something for her to it would have been something more acting wise to present. But of course they eventually do put the transporter scene back in. I didn't know that they took it out. Oh, they put it back. Okay, so they took it out of the script and then they put it back in the script. I think she's talking about the writing process.
Okay, gotcha.
Because at first she was cut and then she was put back in.
Well, I know in the director's cut there is the 2001, and then I think it carries over to the special edition, is the young lady who gets off the transporter pad and says what happened on the other end, and she's like something about seeing how it scrambled our molecules, and that was taken out of the theatrical cut and then put back in for the director's cut, according to Robert Wise.
And I do appreciate this correction. It's hypothesis, not theory, because they don't have any evidence. You need evidence or experimental results to turn a hypothesis into a theory. Thank you very much, Princess Fiona. I feel like I'm at school, and I like being at school. School is one of my favorite places. Jamalama says it's 6 p.m. PST. Start like a M3T. MST3K for cheesy old movies like 10 to 20 Mr. Brown regulars. Super silly, super fun.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. I did have the pleasure of being on the Mr. Brown channel to talk about Star Trek 3, which is really, really cool.
And I love MST3K, the old version, that is.
And so for a little while, Decker is going to be science officer.
Well, and this is one of those things that I'm entertained by in the current sort of media landscape, and it's like, stay away from Twitter. You don't want to know what these guys' political affiliations are. And for the longest time, I've been saying, well, I understand that I can separate the art from the artist because I'll still watch the Naked Gun movie even if O.J. Simpson is in it. Same deal goes with this. I will still watch Star Trek: The Motion Picture even though Stephen Collins is in it. I can separate art and artist, no problem.
Well, fortunately, they both had small roles comparatively too, so that helped. Jill, you want to point out with your cursor, Jill, Joe Trimble?
Oh, Joe Trimble. Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was a lot of Star Trek fans, and including her. She was.
I don't know what she looked like when she was younger, but she is in the shot. You're right, she is there. Okay, so I know how she looks like now because I took a picture with her 7 years ago. But let me see. Let me see if I can find a picture of her younger so I can find her. That's a very good idea.
Well, we wouldn't be looking at this if it wasn't for her. I imagine.
Well, right, because she headed the letter writing campaign with Gene Roddenberry to get us the 3rd season, which put Star Trek into syndication, which would have either led to phase 2, but ended up leading into the motion picture instead. Is this her? Does anybody know?
I don't. I do not know what Joe looks like.
She's in the first 2 rows, and I'm thinking she's either one of those 2 ladies there.
Yeah, I feel like this might be her.
Yeah, because behind her, the lady looks Hispanic, and that's not her. And over to the left, the other one's Oriental. So I think it's one of those two women. I think it's her second from the end.
Yes, that's who I think too. I think this is Bijo. But if I'm wrong, somebody tell me in the chat.
Can you imagine as a Star Trek fan being able to be in that scene? It's like, oh, that'd be like a dream come true.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what happened. These are all fans. Most of the people in this picture are all fans.
Saved a lot of money, didn't it?
Yeah, right. I would do this for free.
I'd pay $50 to be in a cameo Star Trek. Sure, absolutely. Here's my money.
Yeah, so I actually did grab a bit from the book about this from Return to Tomorrow. It's a Screen Actor Guild ruling when the scene requires over 150 people. And so I'm assuming this is a standard guild thing where not all the extras have to be SEG members. And so Gene Roddenberry got a Screen Actors Guild waiver permitting him to go to the streets for extras. He didn't go to the street at all, though. He had Susan Sackett. Yeah, he had Susan Sackett call about 5 of us and ask if we knew any Star Trek fans who would like to be in the movie. That was one of the craziest questions I ever heard. Is the Pope Polish?
Right.
She called David Gerald, Richard Arnold, me, and a few other people. We were told to call up fans who fit within a certain physical description and
Not
call
that.
them over. Well, yeah, they gotta look good in these onesies. Well,
Yes.
not onesies, but like these pajama suits.
Right.
Can you imagine showing up on set though, and it's like, do you want to be in a Star Trek movie? And it's like, absolutely, I can't wait to wear an authentic Starfleet uniform. And then they hand you your beige, like smock, and it's
You're
like,
what is this?
Yeah,
what is this?
Totally.
I
almost know they wore wife beaters.
Yeah, it almost looks like. What's interesting, the costumes remind me of Space 1999.
Well, yeah, this is
The colors remind me of The Last Starfighter.
Ooh.
So V'ger is threatened by
there's
these.
Bijo.
Oh.
No, I'm joking. It's just a giant crowd shot. I can see my house from here.
I thought you really knew.
No.
Okay. Well, sometimes your glasses, they give you sharper vision.
This is true. And that's
I do like that the movie counts down how far away we are from the threat.
Yeah. At one point, it gets 3 hours away. I think that was the last time they say it. It's 3 hours from Earth, I think.
And of course, no one else is in the area except for the Enterprise.
Right.
Yeah.
They're the only thing standing between V'ger and Earth, the Enterprise. Wonderful. Well, starts a long-standing tradition of the only ship in the quadrant.
It could be worse. It could be the Nostromo.
Wherever.
Yeah.
Space.
I really enjoy the digitization of the Epsilon station, and they show the one guy in the spacesuit just trying to outrun the digitization. It was terrifying.
Well, he was in the original.
Oh no, I really like that in terms of tension.
Oh, it is.
Even if he did get out of the digitization, he's still stranded in the middle of space.
Of nowhere. Yes, exactly. Middle of nowhere.
Oh, hello to DJ Ronnie G. Welcome.
Hello there.
Hey, DJ Ronnie G.
Great
There
to
he
see
is.
you. Also,
There he
hello
is.
to Bubba Doom.
Bubba Doom.
That's basically what happened to the actor that played Morn on DS9. What?
He was in a crowd shot and no one saw him. Oh, I don't know, but I do enjoy Morn. Raise a glass.
I do too. He's an anagram of Norm.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Nami. Yeah, everyone's creeping on Ilea. I do enjoy her introduction, and she does. Actually, Robert Wise discusses Ilea's characterization and how it was the Deltans are a species that use sex as a handshake, and that's why it had to be specified that her oath of celibacy was on file. In fact, that is my my Tinder profile.
Oh.
It says Scotty R37. His oath of celibacy is on file.
Oh my
Yeah, of
good!
all-
I
you know, of all
didn't
the-
know. See, that should have been in the movie. I would have liked to learn more about the Deltans as a species.
I take it they don't
Because-
mention them again in for the future iterations of Star Trek.
In a way, the only cool thing about the empath is how it influenced Gene Roddenberry to create Ilea as a empathic alien who can also heal, because she can heal. She heals Chekhov in this movie, and so that's the only reason that the empath deserves to exist. And the only time they mention it later is not as a Deltan, but they create the alien race of the Betazoids, which gives us Deanna Troy.
Mhm.
Favorite.
Yes, that is pop culture curator's favorite character.
But does she wear a bathrobe is good.
Yeah. Man of the
She
people.
wears a lot of that.
She does, but I think her best fashion show is in the episode "Man of the People," where she becomes a succubus.
Man of the people. Hmm.
Enterprise. What we got back didn't live long.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Loved it. Terrified.
Fortunately.
Yeah. And it exploded.
And something we skipped. We skipped over meeting McCoy with the medallion and everything.
Yes, Disco McCoy.
Yes.
Well, that's after this scene. That's what she's
Oh,
talking
it's
about.
after
He
this?
insists
Oh,
we go
okay. We
first.
didn't.
Right, he's waiting in line watching all this happen.
Oh, okay. So I didn't get. I meant to get a clip of Ilea saying and talking about her oath of celibacy, but you covered it, Scotty. So we're good.
I'm an expert on celibacy.
Well, I guess we should point out also that Decker is supposed to be the son of Commodore Decker from
Yes.
the Doomsday Machine. But
Oh, that's only from the novels, though, right? Also.
No, it was actually going to be in the movie, but they excised it. They just took it out.
Mm-hmm. But since
Which
it doesn't
is
show
kind
up
of
on
sad.
screen,
No, it does not show up on screen, and they could have added it. It would have been nice.
it would have been really cool to know that officially, for sure.
Kind of takes away from Matt Decker, though, knowing that he was so, like, he wasn't even going to return to his family. He was so bug nuts crazy.
Well, first his
Booker-
dad, and then now him. Yeah, pretty much. They both end up getting lost in space. Oops.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. That's
Look at
it.
that bad boy.
Jim, have
So-
you ever heard of Average White Band?
And
That's
here's
a
Bones
terrible
fresh from-
bone.
fresh
Terrible
from the
bone.
go- Right. There's Bones fresh from the go-go.
I just want to make sure to say hello to Booger414, who says, I think I may be the only one who didn't find Ilea all that hot.
You are, sir. You are.
Maybe
You
it
are.
was the
You're
lack of hair.
only person.
Congratulations.
Yes. No, I still to this day say she's the most attractive bald woman I've ever seen.
Princess Fiona says, the Deltans are like betazoids for sex. They have powerful pheromones that wreak havoc with humans. So it's a combination of it with an Orion and a betazoid, which is, the Deltans are, I'm sure, I know Seth MacFarlane is a big Star Trek fan. Of course, he created the Orville, which is his Star Trek. And he created a episode with a character called Drulio, who has a species like this where sex is like a handshake to him. And it is actually considered rude to refuse, apparently. And
Man,
it's,
I wish that was a reality.
At least in
yeah,
some
right? It's just-
island
Yeah,
nation.
Yeah, but what if you meet them and they're not good looking? So there's
Who
always that,
cares?
that,
You take
okay.
you take some hits sometimes, you know.
Yeah, and they use, and the species uses their pheromones to get you to agree that they're sexy.
Manipulate.
So yeah, it's very manipulative. It's a pretty good episode. Pop
Is that what
culture
they would call
curator and I
nowadays an
reviewed it.
outdated sensibility?
Hello, Spidey.
Oh yeah,
Hey, Spidey.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hello, Canadian Spider-Man. Yes, I definitely want to make
You're
sure that I say hello to everybody, including the Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips. Did I
Hey,
get it?
Real Wade
Yes,
Nation
I got it
Gaming
right.
Clips.
Bones has to be swinging in the intervening years. What's your sign, baby?
Yeah.
Is this in the 2270s? No.
Oh, that's a question. It's supposed to be 2 years after the original series or so. So whenever that is.
Is it supposed to be 2 years after, or is it supposed to be
2 or 3, I don't know. 2.5.
Well, they do like it. The timeline of the original series movies gets a little wonky because even Admiral Morrow says in Star Trek 3 that the Enterprise is 20 years old, and so you have to account for however many 5-year missions Pike had, the 5-year mission with Kirk, then a little bit of a break for the refit, and I think 2 years for the refit, but like it somehow it doesn't jive.
That's interesting that they would go with that because isn't it 10 years? It's 10 years, right, from the last airing of the show, or right around there, wasn't it? Like
yeah, it was around 10 years, right? 69 to 79, right?
Yeah, it's interesting that they did that. I think that's commendable because this movie obviously it was so different than the lead-in that the TNG movie had. Like they were shooting that movie while they were shooting the final season, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it was. So yeah, that's interesting because everybody does look recognizably older.
Oh yes,
in this.
Especially.
Oh yeah. Chronologically, it's 10 years in real life, but just a couple of years in the fictional.
That's what I mean. Yeah. No, it looks like those little watermarks are riding on the top of the Enterprise.
Way to go, Eric.
Yeah. Well, I love Eric, so I don't know. Eric's became my watermark at some point from the animated series.
Love it.
And the animated series ties in with this movie, I think, because it's an evolution of Spock's character from when he was just 7 years old and he decided to choose the Vulcan way of life in the animated series episode Yesteryear, which when fans first watched this movie, all they had was TOS and the animated series.
Is this the first franchise? Sorry, Joe.
What's your question?
Oh, is this the first franchise that ever did that, where it was in canon with an actual animated show? You know what I mean? Like it went from a live action show to a cartoon to a series of movies.
I'm not sure.
Well, Gilligan's Island did it, but hey.
Okay.
Did Gilligan's Island movies have anything?
Oh, they didn't have movies though. Yeah.
They did. Rescue from Gilligan's Island.
I mean,
Castaways on Gilligan's Island, Harmon Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island.
Were there any character developments that led from the animated series into the movie?
Thank God, no.
There was no character developments ever.
No.
Well,
it was.
That's what we get here, and I think it's just because the fans love it so much that we take all of this stuff so very seriously.
Yeah.
I want to mention that right here with the Sulu's right hand, he has it on that lever, sliding lever. That was in the original theatrical version when I saw it at the theaters, and then it was removed. And many times I saw that where they did not show that, and then it was restored for the director's cut. Thank goodness. There's one scene, it's not in this movie, but they show a close-up of it without him having his hand on it. And it's wood grain, and it's funny because it looks like a gear shift in a car from the 70s.
Yes, I agree. Princess Fiona said the animated series rounds out the 5-year mission. Same group of writers, too.
Yep. Also, the actors had to actually learn the controls in the original series. Obviously, they were just randomly pushing buttons and flipping switches.
Yeah.
But here they were given instructions on what to push and when and all that stuff. So
really, in this movie?
Yes. Michelle Nichols did so at a convention. She said she wasn't used to that.
It's kind of noticeable.
Also, when you mention handprints, Bubba Doom says, I see those watermarks and I think it's handprints from my granddaughter. How did she reach so far?
The kids touch everything.
Ew.
And even live streams.
Do you guys old enough to remember how kids used to love sticking things inside VCRs? That seemed to be a very popular target back in the day.
Well, nowadays it's the computer towers. So anything they can anything they can find. You're gonna find coins in there.
Yeah, if it has a slot, if they see it as a slot, they're gonna
always
stick it in there.
respected the VCR. Love the VCR. Jill,
you were a good kid. Yes.
I don't mean to disrupt things. I do unfortunately have to go. I have a meeting coming up, but I was planning on an hour and a half, and I surpassed that.
Wow, really? Thank you so much for being here, and longer than you expected.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm always so grateful when I get a link and I get to hang out with you guys. I learn a lot. So I'll probably be able to keep listening. But thanks again. And Pop Culture, it's always good talking to you.
My pleasure.
Well, before you go, I want to know, was there anything more you wanted to say about this movie that you didn't get to touch on? Absolutely anything, even if it goes to the end of the movie. I don't mind.
I have not really. I mean, I'll listen to what you guys have to say. I love the ending of this, despite what people say of its quality, of how it looks, and how, the final shot, and Spock's journey over to Voyager 6, and no, I love the themes, and I love how it ends. It reminds me of Dark Star, some of the effects, though much better than Dark Star, obviously.
Yes, it makes better than Dark Star.
No, but you know what I mean? Like some of the superimposed, some of the
it was quaint. Well, Dark Star was quaint for the time.
No, for sure. But
I
still
need to see that.
I really love this movie, so I'm glad I got to talk. I was glad I hit you up, and this is what you were going to talk about, because it's one of my favorite Star Trek movies. And yeah, so that's it.
Well, you have an incredible channel yourself, and I will be appearing on it soon. Do you want to talk about your channel and what you've been presenting this month?
Please, everyone, Jill, spotlight on Jill. She was amazing. She joined us for our 20th anniversary of Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. It was a fun show. It took a while of editing, but I'm finally able to say we're putting it out tomorrow. So Saturday, I'm not exactly sure on time yet, but it's coming out tomorrow. If you love listening to Jill talk Star Trek, she's just as good talking about Lord of the Rings. She was a highlight, and it was a fun show. So please check that out tomorrow. Obviously, I don't know what time yet, but if you're a sub, you'll see it. If you're not a sub, come on, do it.
Yeah, there's a link right there. Subscribe to Cinema Gulp. Click the bell so you can hear me talk about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and she's dressed up and on camera. And on camera.
But you talk about a whole host of other movies too. You've got a wide range, very eclectic personality in terms of
we go for it.
We
go for it. Mm-hmm. There's nothing we don't talk about except maybe torture porn movies or something. But other than that, we'll talk about any movie.
Wow.
But
no
anyway,
exploitation then.
No, well, within reason, but check out the channel, and I definitely be on the lookout tomorrow, because it's been 20 years since Return of the King came out this weekend, so we got it out just in time. So check that out. It should be fun. And thanks again, Bill. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good to see you.
All right.
Such a pleasure to see you.
Oh, always a pleasure to see you guys. And I will keep listening, and you guys have a great rest of your stream.
Take care.
Oh, thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye. And Scotty R37 has missed Cinema Gulp's exit. Oh, that's why he was so quiet during his exit, because I was expecting Scotty to say goodbye too. And I didn't notice that his little avatar had exited. So that's why he missed that. But Jamalama likes Cinema Gulp's avatar. Yeah, it is really good avatar. And Keith E says, "Thank you, Princess, for all your comments. You're top of your stuff." Absolutely. She elevates any conversation that she enters.
Yes.
No kidding. And these are the kind of conversations we used to have in the wee hours in the convention hotel rooms over really Strange drinks. Oh yeah, I did too. Well, in the convention hall room, where they set up Quark's Bar at the Star Trek 50th convention, and there was this terrible, absolutely awful DJ dance party, which was just the songs were not good, and they didn't play them loud enough, even if you did want to hear them.
That
But
sounds like another creation convention.
it was a creation convention.
Oh, of course.
What made the creation convention awesome wasn't necessarily the panels. It wasn't necessarily, except for the William Shatner one was amazing. But what made the convention were interacting with the other fans. And so what I experienced there was a little taste of the Star Trek experience. I never got to go to the Star Trek experience, but these people who were at the dance, they made a drink called the Warp Core Breach, with just filled with juice and rum, and all different kinds of rum and stuff. And it's really good, and you put dry ice in it so that it looks like the Warp Core is breaching.
Nice.
And that made the night, or other Star Trek fans. So that's why I'm so happy that we found a way to bring the best parts of the conventions to the internet. And it's just really, really, really cool. I'm so glad you guys are all here. And Bubba Doom has subscribed to Cinema Gulp and ring the bell. Very good. I'm so glad to hear that. Oh, and Donnie is posting a link to the Post Geek Singularity website regarding Robert Weiss Director's Edition. Finally finishes Star Trek the Motion Picture. So yeah, definitely that's Robert Meyer Burnett's website. And of course, he is the keeper of lots of really cool Star Trek knowledge and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go to the experience twice. Lucky.
I went once.
Yeah, but did you get to go through the whole tour where they take you through the ship and everything?
Yes, I just didn't stop at Quark's Bar, but I did check out everything else.
Oh,
it's
awesome.
not the whole ship. To be exact, there's like a little museum type display going in, and then total what you see is the transporter room, the inside of a shuttle, and the bridge. That's about all you see of the Enterprise. You're walking down a hallway at the beginning when you go to the transporter room, but you don't see like a whole. If you're thinking of a whole swaths or areas of the ship, no.
Oh, that would be cooler. But I thought I heard that people got married on the bridge at the experience.
Yes. An abbreviated form of the way that the ride works is you step on the transport, you walk down a hallway into the transporter room, and this is modern day Las Vegas. You step on the transporter, they're supposed to be beaming you to the Enterprise, but what happens is instead you go to a shuttle, and the shuttle gets taken over, and then you're like, it's one of those where you're watching a movie on the screen, and it's an interactive ride where they're fighting the Klingons over Vegas. And then the shuttle returns to the Enterprise. All this you're not seeing except for the video on the screen. And then you go from the shuttle directly to the bridge. So all you see basically is a transporter, then the interior of a shuttle, and then the interior of the bridge.
Oh, well, that still sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it is. It was. Yeah, I wasn't disappointed. It would have been nice if it was a TOS bridge, but other than that, I wasn't going to complain.
I got to see the TOS bridge recreation at the 50th convention, and I took some family photos on it, which of course.
Oh, nice.
That's the only reason I'd go back to the Star Trek convention, is to get one with my whole family. Now that we have one more member, but
congratulations.
I don't know how. Yeah, well, she's 4 years old now, but it's been so long since I've been to the convention. It was 7 years ago, or 8 years ago. Anyway, how old is Star Trek again? 7 years. Okay.
See, I wouldn't be able to pull myself away from Quark's Bar. I'd be I would be
Well,
getting
you know
plowed in
what?
cars.
Yeah, you would, because there's lots of bars in that hotel. So
Right.
you'd say, yeah, this bar's cute. It has like a few drinks, but there's other bars around
Well,
that
right.
also sell the same
Yeah.
drinks that they're selling at Quirk's bar,
With
plus
different names.
Star Trek themed food. So
Right. And remember, you're in Vegas where food and booze is cheap. The prices in Quartz Bar were astronomical.
I don't doubt it. That's the only thing that
So
would
it was,
dissuade
yeah,
me.
you'd have to like really be, have money to throw around to stop at Quartz Bar.
Well, it's kind of like when you go to a sports bar, everybody's going to be wanting to talk about sports. When you go to the Star Trek bar, striking up a conversation's no problem.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have been fine, but I don't know. We didn't stop.
Fair enough.
We had a lot of things we were going to do that day anyway.
Well, it's no problem for you, but I'm kind of soft spoken. The only thing that helps me here is the microphone. But yeah, the music's always so loud in these casinos. I don't have as good of a time. Cinema Gulp says, "Thanks again for having me, Joe. Love this movie and you guys.
Love you too, Ben.
Take care, sir.
Yeah, thank you so
See
much
you
for the
soon.
super chat."
Oh, isn't there? Did he talk about the Return of the King?
Yes, I did
Okay,
have him talk about his channel and what he's doing, and
I'm sorry I
with
missed
the
him.
Return of the King. Yeah, no, you missed him leaving, and I know you didn't mean to.
No,
but it just happened that way. Yes, you could do a civil wedding on the bridge with a officiant dressed in Starfleet uniform. Mm-hmm. Tell me they made up a Dabo game. Not at the convention I went to. Did they have that at the Experience Pop Culture Curator?
I don't know what Dabo is. Sorry.
Oh, right.
I know Fizbin. But no, not Dabo.
It's like roulette, but Ferengi.
Oh, yeah, that explains why. Yeah, I don't know. I would say probably not, because you're on your own during that experience.
Here's Berto Prey 5's favorite scene. Wait a minute,
yes.
I'm remembering that wrong.
And unfortunately, he's being spared. Or I should say, fortunately, for his sake.
Well, and according to the audio commentary, this was a situation where they had to film multiple takes just to be able to get that blurring effect. And so there were multiple plates. The special effects on this are extraordinary. And
yes, if you search hard enough, you can find a scene before they added the effects. So you can find this whole scene without the effect added, and it looks kind of strange.
Apparently, I heard it took weeks because they had to film it at different speeds.
I've heard that too.
Well, and something that carried over into the filth, there was discussion that there were a lot of lens flares happening in this film as well, and they were actually putting pieces of tinfoil within the the camera gate to try and catch some light and lens flares. And so, while it may be attributed to everybody's favorite rebooter, it was something that they employed here as well.
But this isn't just because of stylistic choices. It is a stylistic choice, but it's because of the effect of the wormhole. It's to show the way that the time is having an effect on the ship.
And the difference is it served the story, unlike the new versions.
Right.
From
it wasn't just
Shooter
random,
or whatever you said he is.
For no reason. Coming from where?
I'm sorry?
So, let's see. The magical wrist communicator. What? There's a wrist communicator? They wore them on the inside of the wrist. The problem is that they had them every time Kirk would sit on his console, it hit face down on the console. They had a scene with the wormhole where they were bashing into the handrail, and at the same time, the thing went for the belt buckles. The wrist communicators were supposed to be made from magical futuristic material that adhered invisibly to the wrist. Oh. There was no way to get them to stay on. I didn't know. I was trying to look up information about the wormhole, but instead I got information about the wrist communicators. But there's also a asteroid in the wormhole with them that's threatening to smash into the ship. And I think this is a really fun sequence for me. I'd like to hear more about why Bird of Prey 5 doesn't like it, but he's not here.
He seemed to not like everything about it.
Yeah, he was really upset.
He was flipping tables because of the damn wormhole.
I want to hear more about it. I'm going to ask him during bed life more
Nice.
why he doesn't like it.
Torture him even further.
Yeah, I have to, because I didn't get the full story. So when Wise gathered his cast together for a rehearsal, the wormhole sequence, a scene that, in addition to placing the Enterprise directly in dramatically convenient jeopardy, it serves to escalate the conflict between Decker and Kirk. By the end of the scene, Decker has saved the ship by countermanding an order that Kirk would not have issued if he possessed Decker's knowledge of the new. Oh, an order that if he had known about the Enterprise's redesigned weaponry. In the scene that follows, the script dictates that Kirk be surprised and perhaps slightly chagrined by Deckard's explanation of his error.
And I do enjoy when Checo says torpedoes away.
I only got Decker's line, so I'm glad you said Chekhov's.
Delay that phaser order.
Well, and in terms of that's great with the explosion of the asteroid, but that is
Just in time.
something in terms of the characterization of the Enterprise. One of the things that Robert Wise, or at least in collaboration with the script, he wanted to make sure that there was a sense of peace once the entire crew had been reunited together on the Enterprise, and it doesn't actually fully work until Spock has arrived, and then the ship is happy. And I thought that was adorable, just listening to Robert Wise say, and this is the first time in the film where you actually see the Enterprise happy. That's when it starts to go, because finally everybody's back. And I love it.
Well,
I love
you're right, because the ship was not happy at first. It wasn't even ready to leave, but it just has to because of this threat they have to intercept. And yeah, it's so unhappy that somebody actually gets lost in the transporter. So it doesn't make it makes it more sense that Bones was not happy to be using the transporter even more than normal, because this particular transporter did kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Two somebodies. And here, they have the actor. They interviewed the actors about this scene. I think it's kind of interesting. They shot it at apparently 48 frames per second, 44. When they did the wormhole scene, they had 65 millimeter, 35 millimeter, 48 frames, 24 frames. This is what Walter's saying. They shot the scenes over 400 times, some parts of it 400 times. I don't even understand the magnitude of how to do that. But a wormhole is set in a world-pulling black hole, and we were trying to get a sense that the strange distortions were occurring as we caught up to it. And yeah. When we go through what they call a wormhole, this one is Grace Lee Whitney saying it. The ship and the bridge both shake. You know how they did such scenes on the series? They had us on 2x4s, and two guys would stand on each board, like on a seesaw, and they would shake it. Well, they had to do the same thing with the wormhole scene on the picture, and it was so funny to see $7 million set being shaken by two large grips on each side of the bridge.
Also, that for the first time in Trek history, the design of the bridge was enclosed and it had an actual ceiling to it. In the TOS, it was 3 walls, and the fourth wall was mostly where the camera stood. Every now and then, rarely, we would see the fourth wall when they would move one in for the shot. And also, there was no ceiling on the bridge in the original series, because that's where all the lights and gappers and everything, microphones and everything were. But they made sure to have an enclosed set here, which I thought, and the whole set was on a gimbal, like Jill just said, where they would rotate it and shake it, tip it.
Yeah. Upon completion of the wormhole scene, Robert Abel, who was involved in the shooting of every sequence scheduled for post-production opticals, was now free to direct the latest attempt at the transporter room trauma. Oh, okay, so that lots of production things happen out of order. Okay. Oh, and this was one of the first scenes that DeForest Kelley shot, was a confrontation with Kirk in Kirk's quarters.
I love that. And it
Mhm.
oh, please.
No, go ahead.
I like the characterization of DeForest Kelley with this, and it is one of the, like, aside from, like, Uhura feels like Uhura, Sulu and Chekhov feel like themselves, Scotty feels like himself, but Bones also feels like himself and just frustrated that his friends essentially are gone crazy. And I enjoy the sage advice that Bones once again gives. And when it comes to the uniforms, I really I dig the collared Starfleet uniform that Bones gets to wear.
Yeah, definitely. Oh goodness, my computer's shaking. Speaking of shaking going on,
Whole lot of shaking going on.
for one thing, I don't think an asteroid would be just hanging around in the middle of a wormhole, says Mr. Lundell of Groovy Movies.
I think I could be wrong, but I think that they said that the imbalance of the warp engines was what caused the wormhole effect.
And I think, yeah, and then it pulls the asteroid into the wormhole.
Right.
Yeah,
Not necessarily it was already sort of hanging out.
Right. They would have easily avoided it if that was the case. But it was the engine imbalance, because that's the first thing Spock does when he arrives. Right here, he goes down to go over his fuel equations with the ship's engineer, as he says.
Please read this line from Bones, Scotty.
Wrong, Mr. Chekhov. There are casualties. My wits, as in frightened out of, Captain, sir.
Yes. And
Love
also,
it.
hello,
Hey.
Scott Davis.
Hey.
Yeah, there are amazing lines in this movie.
Hello there.
I've got a few of them, but I don't have nearly the amount I need. Oh yeah, speaking of, we did pass up meeting McCoy, and so here are the clips from that.
Why is any object we don't understand always called a thing? Damn it, Bones. I need you.
Adorable.
Yes.
Nursemaid me through these difficulties, mister?
Kind of weird now that you think about it in hindsight, but well, okay, sure.
It works because he's saying, I realize your importance. I'm not sorry I became captain, but I'm glad you're here.
Well, and do you think he would have stepped down as captain of the Enterprise after this particular mission, or would he have maintained if Decker hadn't been,
Well, look at his attitude at the end of the movie. He's happy to be back with the crew.
Well,
I don't think he's willing to give it up back.
And remember, he insisted with Admiral Nagura, because Scott even said, we're basically referred that couldn't have been easy with Nagura. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, he insisted on it.
Mm-hmm. Bones looks like he was ripped off of the Love Boat at his debut. Yeah, he had an epic beard for sure, starting a long tradition of epic beards in Star Trek.
And in terms of
there
the
were some
verbal,
epic beards. There were some epic beards in the original series, good ones and bad ones.
The Lazarus beard.
That was a bad one. Gavin Blackburn says Indiana Jones could have used Bones' medallion to find the Ark of the Covenant.
True.
Looked like a swinger.
But you're so right about the characterizations in this movie, is that I think of all the characters, McCoy is the one who stays more the same, because Kirk is a little different. Spock is a lot different. But McCoy just brings it like he's just stepping right off of the original series. I don't think Kirk ever really had a choice not to be a poor stripper. It was his destiny.
Striper or stripper?
It says stripper.
Okay.
Well, I think it's a misspelling, but I think you mean striper.
A poor striper. Oh. Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Yes, it was Kirk's destiny to be a stripper.
A captain. It was Kirk's destiny to be captain. Although Grace Lee Whitney says that he was supposed to not have clothes on the beach with his fiance, but it didn't happen.
And we get a great Chekhov howl in agony.
There we go again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. He hurts his arm.
And we get
We
Chapel.
don't need you, Dr. Chapel.
Yeah.
We got Alea to heal. Oh, and there's the wristband communicators.
Well, yeah, they use it when they're standing next to V'ger, if you remember right. So they do use it eventually.
Hmm.
And the cold nature of Spock, it's off-putting. Like, if you're a fan of Spock from the series, I can understand how the characterization of Spock is somewhat, you don't want him to be as cold and emotionless as we've all been told that he is, by him primarily throughout the series. But
yeah,
now
it's really upsetting.
Yeah, it is, because you want, and I think that may be part of the sort of the tepid reception that some people may have given it, despite its financial success, is that it doesn't feel like them. But I still say that the point of the movie is, if they had just jumped in and said, okay, we're going on an adventure in the movies, it would have felt a little too, I don't know, you're running before you learn to walk. And
It's also in the script and the story. It's because he went through the culinary discipline.
Oh, of course. But
He's got to sneak that, yeah, because he was suppressing his human side.
Yeah. But I like the idea of getting the band back together so that you don't get to go home right away, but then as the relationship sort of strengthen throughout the course of the film, and as Spock sort of allows himself the emotional empathy with V'ger.
Right, it's when he has that bond with V'ger. That's what brings the human side back.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned the animated series, because where yesteryear has Spock decide to take the Vulcan path, the motion picture isn't when Spock decides that while, yes, he's Vulcan, he does not want to stamp out that human half entirely. He'll control his emotions, but he won't forget the meaning of that feeling when pure logic and knowledge is not enough.
Now, I saw someone in the chat earlier on talking about the theory of V'ger and the robot planet being, like, it's an old theory, but potentially V'ger was modified by the Borg. Did anybody ever buy into that?
I never heard of it.
You've never heard of it?
Oh, I've heard of that theory.
Sounds like somebody's really stretching.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's a fan theory because...
Yeah, I would say definitely probably a fan theory that somebody thought of when they were high.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say high, because they're both the Borg is an infestation. They're like a virus kind of.
Right, but I have a feeling V'ger is far more advanced than the Borg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the Borg they're still mechanical. You know, they show them their bodies, everything's mechanical still.
Oh, right.
And
so
V'ger is more on a corporeal level.
Right. Well, V'ger as it is now could evolve into the Borg, but when at the end of the movie, when it merges with the Creator, there's no way the Creator merged with the Borg the machine is going to become the Borg, because the creation, the new life that's created at the end of the movie, combined, it understands humanity, because it's got it's elevated, it's evolved, and the Borg just stay mechanical. They infest They're the infestation.
And they don't have that need to learn that V'ger has. V'ger's the whole point is it wants to learn.
Well, okay, so that's where their theory comes from, because the Borg want to learn too. They just want to take your technological distinctiveness and add it to their own. They just smash it on. It's like a really smart Packlids, but mechanical.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, thank you, Booger.
Oh yeah. Oh, Booger says that was me. It could have been early for the Borg combo. Like when I embraced my bloody Klingon heritage, says James Caserta.
How very B'Elanna of you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He mildly burns his arm and screamed like a banshee. Well, he didn't have a ton to do with this movie, so when he got something to do, he did it. You want him to be in pain? He was.
Yeah, and that's it is unfortunate that our supporting cast don't have a whole heck of a lot to do. That does improve as the movie series goes on.
Sorry.
Oh
yeah, it does. Definitely.
But again, it's people doing their jobs, acting in a proper rank structure. I do appreciate this pseudo-military.
Right, and as far as the co-stars, they were just happy to be there. So
yeah, exactly.
They were, yeah. A bit that I ran across in this book is how apparently the crew, they were crying on the bridge because they were just so in awe that they were back on the Enterprise again, and so the crew, the makeup crew, were kind of upset. They kept having to reapply makeup because the cast
Stop
was
crying,
so emotional.
everybody.
They were so emotional about being together again.
I enjoy the audio commentary during the slow crawl over the V'ger ship, and they talk about this particular shot as well, with the sort of organic looking. They had filmed fjords with like snow and rock to make it look somewhat organic. And one of the I think it was John Dykstra, who was like, "Oh yes, the famous V'ger balls. I imagine these to be the intellect. This is the knowledge center," but everyone just called them the V'ger balls. And this is a really cool effect.
But that kind of stuff, I would have liked that to be in the movie. I love that imaginative kind of ideas.
And we have the initial probe.
Yes, the probe is looking into the computers. And Ilea, we're going to see Ilea change. She's going to die. Her human form is going to die, and she's going to come back as a V'ger probe, yes.
Scantily clad.
The shortest of bathrobes.
Mm-hmm.
But she really does and this is it's not introducing with her credits for Persis Khambatta, but presenting, and so she does a good job of showing the terror of being digitized.
Yes, and she was able to. If I remember right, this may have been her first American movie, but she did go on. She made a few movies after this before she passed away untimely.
Oh, she did. She was former Miss India and a successful model actress in her land before moving to London.
It was a big deal for her to cut her hair. It's not a skinhead wig, everybody. She actually cut her hair.
Oh wow, she really dedicated herself to this.
Yeah.
Because she's a Star Trek fan, so that makes sense why she went all the way with this.
Yeah.
And she was in it with another 100 other actresses being considered, but she was the one who went into auditions with a bald cap. She hadn't yet, since she didn't have the part, she didn't yet shave.
Well, obviously, right.
But that also would have been for phase 2, because she was already cast by the time we got to phase 2, and so there are production stills of like costume tests and makeup tests, and she's wearing a bald wig. I don't think
she's also wearing the suit from TOS.
And I don't think that they would have asked her to shave her head for however long the series they anticipated it going on for. But this is great for a one-off character.
Mhm. Well, in London, she said her favorite TV shows were Star Trek and Mission Impossible, and she said she would see because she said because exotic women didn't get much work except in James Bond films looking beautiful. I asked my agent, "Look, why can't I work for Star Trek? They always use exotic women." He said because it's a rerun, they've stopped making it, and so. So then when they were going to do the Star Trek series again, because my agent says they asked to see you, so I thought that's wonderful. When I went in for the interview with the casting people, all the actresses had beautiful wigs or hair. I decided to walk in wearing a bald cap I had bought for $1, so they would have a rough impression of how I would look without hair. As I walked in the room, they were quiet. I told them I was a lousy cold reader. Some people were good cold readers, but when they came on camera, they're not as good. So I asked them to test me, and they did. So then one night I had a dream where I felt very strongly that I had got this job. And in fact, she did. Skipping just a bit. As an actress, I felt that a series was something that you're stuck into, but I didn't feel that way about this one. Knowing that Star Trek always had different things happening, I felt it wouldn't be something where I had to play one role.
Well, originally also, it wasn't supposed to be a weekly series. Wasn't it supposed to be like 2 or 3 TV movies a year?
Oh, really? That is cool. That would have been really neat. I would be so interested to tap into the alternate universe where we've got phase 2 instead of the movies. I do love the movies, but
Phase 2 instead of TNG? Just kidding.
yeah. Well, who knows what would have evolved afterwards with phase 2 as the grounding point for what became of Star Trek sequels.
Yep.
I think things would be a little different.
I love the effect of the probe. You could tell there's something actually right in the room with them.
Right, that's why Chekhov thinks it's a alien at first. Is this part of the crew? But it's of course a probe.
There's the one security guard that's left. That last shot.
And Anonymous is here. Hello, Anonymous. Yes, right. We do lose
Hello
a security guard and a deleted scene for there. I could never see any of the V'ger's details growing up until I bought it on Blu-ray. Well, yeah.
Well, and I think they had a design for the V'ger ship. And looking at the 2001 director's cut, there is a shot before it explodes where you do get to see sort of the enormity of it in orbit of Earth, not very clearly, and it's not until the special edition Blu-ray that it really really is shown off in its design.
It does. It looks completely different in the special edition.
Well, James Caserta said, "Who else thought V'ger was Stonehenge and the unified theory of everything when we first see it?"
Interesting.
Yeah, that is an interesting idea. Princess Fiona responds to Mr. Londell, "I don't think so. Director Nicholas Meyer thought the old uniforms looked like pajamas and wanted something more naval." And so, yeah.
We're talking about Khan.
Yeah, the Wrath of Khan for the next movie. Why the uniforms were changed. Why?
For the better.
Why? For the better, right? Why these uniforms didn't endure during the Star Trek movies.
Well, and it's just to be able to go from these uniforms, which would have been absolute. I don't like the look of them. I do enjoy Admiral Kirk's sort of flag uniform, but everything else does look, super comfy, but not striking. And I think it's been mentioned before, but it would be so frustrating. It's like we went from being relaxed and casual and wearing these one-piece, sort of slumber party outfits, and now we have to wear like 3 layers of wool and cotton under the hot lights, and so it would have been a little bit more of a struggle, I think, going forward.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah,
sonic
so-
showers. But one of the things that's very strange about the sonic shower is that when she does step out of it, there are droplets of water. So I
She was
don't
wet.
know. Is it? Yeah. Is there? Yes, she was wet. But I'm just curious: is it sonic, or is there water involved with the sonic shower?
That's a good point. And is anybody wet any other time they come from a sonic shower?
Do they
Depends on
show
whether or
them
not
again?
Kirk's there.
Do they show them again in Future Trek?
Yes, Next Generation specifically.
Okay. There was a Star Trek trivia book that came out. They were supposed to have every single thing, every fact that they claimed on the cover that it was impeccable. It knew everything about Star Trek. And my friend bought it, and then he tested me. He goes, "Okay, is there anything you can think of that's probably not in the book?" And I said, "Yeah, how about Ensign Perez from the shower scene with Ilea?" He looked it up, and it wasn't in the book.
Nice, right? Ensign Perez. He asks about
Carbon-based
what
unit.
a carbon-based unit is. Yeah.
And I was right. The very first thing that I guessed was not in that book. So I was like, no, I don't need that book. Thank you.
Yeah. What do you think? How are Hispanics represented in Star Trek? And there's one.
I think it's the
Watch
first
it.
one.
Was he the first? Well,
Maybe
on screen.
On screen.
I don't know. Well, unless you count the animated series with the.
Well, the animated series, well, yeah, but I'm saying TOS.
TOS, yes. So Walter Koenig says, I always forget. It seems to me that with every rewrite, there was less for Nichelle, George, and myself to do. Just for one small example, I was rewritten out of the sonic shower scene with Ilea probe.
Oh.
Now we had a Spock aboard. We had Spock aboard, and it seemed logical for him to take my place. Oh, okay. That's when he became part of the.
And I can see why he should have been there. He was a security officer.
Mm-hmm. There were one or two other scenes I had in the very first draft that I read, which were not in later drafts when we began to shoot. I don't think my part was being undermined in any way. I pretty well knew what was going on, that there was not going to be a whole lot for me to do. I think that I particularly enjoyed writing the journal because I knew I wasn't going to be the star of the movie. So at least I could be star of the book, you know? Oh, right. There's a book that, where is it? I have a list of things down here. Let's see if I can find it. This might just take a moment. I'll show you a picture of the book since it's getting mentioned.
Sounds good.
Hold on. There's a lot of material in terms of.
Jill, how much time did you have today? Do you have 45 more minutes or unlimited time?
Yes, I have about 45 more minutes.
Gotcha.
So hopefully I can get through all the slides.
Okay.
Oh, I should have went this way. Oh, where is it? Oh, here it is. Chekhov's Experience, a personal journal of the making of Star Trek the Motion Picture. Star Trek's own Lieutenant Pavel Chekhov takes us in close to the off-camera camaraderie while making the greatest film adventure.
Wasn't he commander by this point?
No, I don't think so. I think he was lieutenant.
Okay.
Still a
That's right, he was
promotion.
ensign. That's right. He was ensign in the original series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was an ensign.
Okay, there we go. One step up for everybody.
That's good enough, I think.
Oh yeah, that's how military is. It takes 10 years to get promoted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think okay, so McCoy says something. If this thing is so important to him, how can we trust him? Oh, Spock. Yes. And Kirk could never believe that Spock would put his own interests ahead of the ship's. Yeah, I really like that line too. I love that Leonard Nimoy zeroes in on that. Now, later on in the picture, when this intruder probe of light starts to gather up all the information out of the computer system, Kirk says it's learning all our information. So Spock walks over and smashes the panel with his on the station with his fist.
Which is great.
There
You
was
get to
some,
see the two fist hammer drop from Spock.
hey, and it's really cool because you remember Vulcans are very, very strong, and it's a great reminder of that.
And if you look closely in the scene immediately following, the panel's not broken.
There was apparently there was supposed to be some dialogue there from Decker, who was supposed to say, why did you do that? You didn't have to use your fist. You could have disconnected it from the main terminal or something." And Spock said it was the only logical thing to do.
We haven't got
It was
time
the
for
most
that
direct
crap.
action. Yeah, right. And there was a moment when Kirk, McCoy, and Decker, or whoever, was looking at each other wondering, did Spock really have to do that? Was that his real intention? And so that's supposed to bring up Spock's loyalties and the mystery of his character. So many things that they could have added to this movie.
Yeah, and as it stands now, there is sort of subtle misdirection with some questions as to it. But it's also, after having just watched the Tholian Web on the Tuesday show, there are moments, and even with McCoy being affected by the area of space that they were in, the tension that is built in terms of the questioning of the other members of the crew. I do like how it sort of heightens that it's not just headed to Earth, but it's also affecting Spock in terms of being a member of the crew. And I enjoy that tension with it. And as it moves forward, as the plot moves forward, and Spock has more contact with V'ger, I do like how that brings him back.
I like that it's miniature and micro pumps.
It does.
I think if this was made now, everything would be nanotechnology.
Right, you're right. If this was made now, it'd be nanotechnology, quantum something. But here, everything is mechanical, duplicated in tiny format somehow. Yeah, today Leia would be nanobots. Exactly, says Princess Fiona.
Oops.
Oh, this is interesting.
Maybe.
Well, and it's
joke.
Because Spock just mentioned that when the Ilea probe does see Captain Decker, she says Decker as opposed to Decker unit. So she is still there. Like the consciousness or the digitized sentience of Ilea is within the probe, which brings me to think that, hey, it's another bald android representation of consciousness that we'll see in Star Trek. This is the first, but later on in Picard, we get it.
Except, well, see, where Star Trek Picard fails because he turns into an android, and yet nothing about him is changed. He's totally he just acts like he just woke up from the dead.
Yes.
Here there is a change between Ilea and when she's turned into a probe. Mechanically, she looks the same, but becoming artificial intelligence has changed her immensely because she is programmed by V'ger, and so there's that kind of difference in what we get.
I'm just being a total stinker because even then they do say that's not Ilea, that is, and I think Decker even realized it.
Exactly.
So,
and later on, despite acting exactly like him, that's not Picard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jamalama says, I'm going to hop off. I actually want to watch this. It's been so long. I don't want any more spoilers. Bye. Aloha. Nui lo. Oh, sorry if I mispronounced that.
Nui loa.
Thank you.
Cheers, Jamalama.
Take care.
Yeah. Have a great time, Jamalama. I'm so glad that this live stream could, and all of us in the chat and the panel could inspire you to want to rewatch this movie and that you want to see the ending again for yourself. That is wonderful.
Such a delight to revisit.
Yes. Absolutely, it is. The probe in another form is what killed Ilea. Yeah, if he didn't mention that, I would have had a problem with the whole movie. At least he mentions it. because that is the biggest contention point. And she just burst through the wall. Don't have time for doors.
The superior strength of an android.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It's kind of funny because they showed that so that they wouldn't have to film a scene where they jumped her, trying to overpower her. It saves us the time of that, because that's what they would have done in the old show. So they established immediately that she's just so strong that they're like, oh no, let's just do what she says.
And of course, the actual wall. Okay, so it looked like essentially what it was: someone punching her way through a cardboard wall. I had been concerned about this before. This is Todd Ramsey, whoever he is. Who's Todd Ramsey? I'm sure he's a very important special person in this movie. Let me see who he was.
Set design, props.
Todd Ramsey, editing. Oh, he's the editor. Okay.
So that he's talking about how they edited it to make it more believable, because they did. When you think about it, they flashed it by really quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. So they simply weren't going to come up with something none of us bought it the way I originally put it together, which showed most of her body coming through the wall. There was some discussion about possibly reshooting the scene, and Bob said to me, first try and cut it a different way, which is what he always did in situations where the considerations of oh man, this guy, he talks weird. Anyway, he did a really great job editing this movie.
Yes.
But yeah, definitely. If you need to know more about this movie, this book is amazing. Return to Tomorrow.
And obviously, Robert Wise is going to know the guy who edited Citizen Kane, so yeah, I wouldn't argue with him.
Mm-hmm. Bubba Doom says Gavin Blackburn to Gavin Blackburn. My kids got me the kit last Christmas, and my hobby shop found me the lighting kit for almost half off. I got lucky. That's why it's still in the box. I'm scared to mess it up. So, what did he get? Let's see.
I think he means the Enterprise model, maybe.
Yeah, did he get the Enterprise?
Refit?
No, I just wanted a simple scheme like how it was painted for the TOS show. Polar lights are expensive and hard to find in the UK, or I would build more. Oh, Gavin builds models. That's cool.
Yeah, you need to talk to Sean Carter.
Oh, yeah. Sean Carter's got an amazing channel with he does all the lighting. Yeah, the sci-fi model guy, definitely. Since you mentioned him, I'll bring him up. Definitely always relevant to any Star Trek show. And all right, let's put that in. How many of us just looked at our phones when the communicator chimed?
Sorry about that.
Fully functional. James Caserta says, actually, yeah, they did say every part of her was recreated.
Yes.
So, yes, she was. It didn't come up during the course of this movie, but it is true. Oh. Definitely. And so they're heading into the orifice, which, as it is called twice in this movie. Oh, and of course they had to build it, of course. And so there's lots of information in this book that's really cool about stuff like that. And how they did the lights and things. Let's see if there's anything I can find. Mark Stetson says, we worked on the orifice when it was in the horizontal position for a long time. And in that position, it looked like a giant jacuzzi. There was a hole in the middle where the opening part goes. And it was big enough for for a couple of people to sit in it. A lot of times people would be sitting in the jacuzzi, sprinkling those beads on that or spray painting it or whatever. When we built the orifice segment at Maxella. Greg's team brought in the tunnel pretty close to completion over at the annex building and then completed the tunnel here. We pretty much rolled ours over and then rolled it into place. Wow. So, yeah, of course they had the Vidra marble also. Oh, no. Oh, goodness. Oh, that's to tell me that we're in the lightning round. Now I've got to let the slides go until we get to the end. I can't pause it anymore, so if you need me to pause it for any reason, I will, but you've got to ask me. And so let's...
Sorry, I'm going to mute. My phone's going crazy.
Oh, okay. And if you have to take that, I understand. It's very important for you to keep up with whatever's going on in your life, and it is a life that's very dear to me.
Well, and I did want to take an opportunity to highlight the song. One of the Cassidy boys recorded a disco version of Ilea's theme with lyrics, even, which is amazing.
Lyrics? Oh, yeah, I know that song. You're going to sing it.
Oh, no, I don't know the words.
Okay.
But it was during the, 79. We're still at the tail end of the disco era, kind of. And we do have many. I think Mako did a cover in 1980.
It's such a soft song. I didn't know that was disco. Maybe it's a different song that I'm thinking of.
Well, there again, the Mako cover of it in 1980, and then the Cassidy, and then there was a re-recording of it, I think, in 2013. And this is when we get to hear Spock say orifice several times, which is one of my favorite things.
Me too.
I will attempt to penetrate the Vidra orifice.
Well, the inside, my favorite one is, I believe the closed orifice leads to another chamber. And of course, this is also where Spock is on his way to mind meld, which of course is the absolute best way to communicate with a life form which you otherwise cannot. Of course.
And I'm glad that they did get an opportunity to incorporate some of the mainstays of Spock. Like we do get the mind meld at the beginning during the Kolinar. We get the mind meld again here. We get the neck pinch when he steals the spacesuit.
Well, this is actually the most mysterious thing about Spock to me in this entire movie is that he has this telepathic connection with Vidra that nobody else seems to have. There are lots of other aliens and creatures who are telepathic all around, but Spock is the only one who makes direct connection with Vidra. Obviously, because we need him to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess Ilea would have been, if she had, does she have that empathic? I know that she has the ability to stop people's pain, but I wonder if she would have been able to sort of sense Vidra.
And maybe she did. Maybe other telepathic beings also sensed it, but just thought, oh, whatever. I sense stuff all the time. That doesn't seem that special. And maybe Spock was just the only one to think it was a special thing. That aligned with himself. He saw something in himself of Vidra. And that's what it is. So it's not that he's the only telepathic creature to connect with him, Vidra, but it's the only one that he related to. He relates to Vidra as himself. And here's some of the clips that I missed as we reach this portion of the live stream, where I will play the slides nonstop because we're almost out of time.
You're just
I feel like
warm and sociable as ever.
It's how we all feel, Mr. Spock.
And so I'm glad that I'm playing these clips now because this is where the transition from Spock trying to purge all emotions, ignoring his human half entirely, and how he changes after the mind meld.
Will you please sit down?
Love that delivery from Shatner. Love it. Spock, sit down. Spock, sit down. Would you please? Love it. Sorry, I'm just singing along, but I love it.
You can. Yeah.
But he wouldn't put his own interests ahead of the ship's.
Can't believe he would.
I sense puzzlement.
Oh, okay. I think that's after. That's after this. So we'll pause it there. And Princess Fiona says to me, I think it sparks powerful yearning, questioning if this is all there is, just like V'ger that allowed them to bond. Yes, exactly. And Bubba Doom says, okay, folks, I'm going to lurk for real now. You beautiful nerds, have a great weekend. I hope to see you all tomorrow. Voyager is actually getting better. I don't think I'll have a grade below a C. Oh, man. Oh, Bubba Doom, you just reminded me. I'm going out of town this weekend, so I'm going to miss Saturday Night Star Trek, but you guys don't have to miss Saturday Night Star Trek because it'll be on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Central Time at the Clobber & Times channel. And Clobby and Raquel, Captain Clobby, First Officer Raquel Briggs, just do a phenomenal job of relaying Star Trek as they see it from the beginning to all of real Star Trek until 2005. So they're at Voyager, and as Bubba says, Voyager is getting good thanks to removal of one cast member and an addition of another. So thanks to 7 of 9, it really something happened with the 4th season where things just get better in general with 7 and the Doctor and all of that stuff. And I wish I wish I could be there tomorrow, but you guys can review the next 4 episodes in the chat, including the first part of the Year of Hell. Anyway, that there's your Clobby endorsement, which happens almost every time I talk about Star Trek, which makes sense because I love him. And Maggie says, "Wow, incredible! That's so awesome. Definitely jealous." To Princess Fiona. Oh, what are you jealous about? Oh, that's a problem when I can't read everything. I don't know what I miss the amazing conversations y'all are having.
It's not your fault. It's not easy.
It isn't. Well, I mean, if I could sit here and have 10-hour live streams, I would read everything.
Yeah, especially with this movie, we could go on and on, but
I know. Well, the book is 800 pages. There are 800 pages of this. Oh, and before I leave, Alamarine. Oh, Alamarine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, not so awesome when you know, for you anyway, because I use magic wands to do that. Dalek451 says, I went to the cinema to watch Godzilla -1 today, and near the end of the movie, the projector broke. And this happened 3 times. Because of this, I didn't get to see the end of the movie.
I hope you got your money back. Or what do they call it? A rain check.
Yeah, right. Move along home. Okay, so this is the part I seriously I gotta play and not stop it because otherwise I'm not gonna get through all of the scenes. So we get to see inside V'ger. V'ger's collected all this information. So V'ger was sent out by humanity to collect data, and that's exactly what it did. Way more than intended. Because the theory was that it got caught in a black hole, ended up on the other side of the galaxy, got adopted by this planet of machines who saw it as a primitive version of its own. And so its desire to learn and explore just grew and grew until it became a life form of its own. And that's the life form that Spock is mind melding with right now. And it's going to change everything for him. And in the way that V'ger helps Spock, Spock is able to turn around and help V'ger by learning how to communicate with it, using the computer to understand V'ger's computer language and inputting it into the computer so that Uhura can send the message a friendly message to V'ger saying, "Hey, we want to help. We're not here to hurt." And of course, it's one of those moments where that kind of thing happens just in time. It's wonderful. I think this movie is great. It picks up more in the second half than the first, where it's building up but that's because the first half is, hey, we've been apart. The trilogy has been apart this whole time, and now they're coming back together. And now Spock is on this journey to realize that his human half is still an important thing to him. He tried to purge it for whatever reason. He was trying to get rid of it because it was Vulcan culture, and the Kolinar is something that saved the planet Vulcan from its violent past.
Well, and it harkens back in terms of Spock even seeking out the Kolinar. It harkens back to what Edith Keeler said, and it's like, Captain, you didn't say it, but you didn't have to, as if you would be by his side, as if you've always been by his side and you always will be. And the idea that Kirk takes promotion to Admiral leaves Spock not necessarily wanting to be on the Enterprise because he would prefer to be at Kirk's side, but it not being an option for an Admiral, him seeking out his Vulcan, exploring his Vulcan side in more depth. I enjoy that, and there is a series of books called the Star Trek: The Lost Years that do sort of delve into between the end of the 5-year mission and the beginning of the motion picture, and it's sad to read how they all sort of split apart. But again, I find it really satisfying to see them.
I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because besides this,
Simple feeling.
V'ger can't experience that, and that's what V'ger's missing in its quest to be able to learn and explore and extend beyond the confines of only accepting what it can. And the weird thing is, I was trying to look for a certain line that's not in the earlier cuts of this movie, and I couldn't find it because the website I'm using to get clips doesn't have it. But what I found was from The Conscience of the King, where Kirk says almost exactly what he said in this movie back then.
Logic is not enough.
He also said,
I've got to feel my way.
That's also why I did not like the Kirk death scene in Generations. I think Spock should have been there.
"Oh, definitely." Yeah, no, I think a lot of people have trouble with that.
Yeah.
With that scene, that is, Kirk should not die under the bridge. Definitely on it.
With none of the original crew around him. Yeah, I don't know, but I could spend days talking about that, so never mind.
Well, you could, yeah. Well, I did already have a live stream about it, but if you ever want to come back on a Friday and just a random stream and talk about it, we can, because that is another 20-minute conversation. And yet I have another 10 minutes of slides I gotta go
for it.
Yes, I agree with you, though. That is a good point. So Spock was getting a Kolinar cleaning then. It says FKH 2005. The Lost Years were good books, says Burger414. So he read that, and I'm remiss in my Star Trek reading. There's a ton of reading that I've got to do, which is great for me, because while the franchise is suffering with very terrible productions being made these days, it's great for me to know that I have a ton of reading to do of good Star Trek that fans and people who care about Star Trek have made. And Don Don says, "I love your poll." All right, I almost forgot about my poll. What happened to my poll? Wait, my poll is missing.
Oh no!
That's usually what happens to me. I'm surprised it happened to you.
Do you see the poll, Scotty?
Let me take a look.
On your side?
I don't see it.
But yes, this is the part I described earlier. V'ger wants an answer, And Spock helps. And I think I described it better earlier, so I'll leave it there. Imagi says, if the black sheep of the family has a PhD, that's one hell of a family. Yeah. No kidding.
No, unfortunately, I think the poll is lost. I don't have
I
it
thought you
anymore.
took the poll down. It must have timed out. Oh no. I wonder what happened.
When did
to
you
it.
put it up? You just put it up this afternoon or today, right?
I put it up today, yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, okay. We could see the results though. Okay, so let me share I'll just read the results. No, I should put it on screen because if I don't, I'm gonna lose it. So here it is. Which story of a lost ancient probe that gains intelligence do you prefer? And of course, since this is a live stream about Star Trek the Motion Picture, it has won with 71% over the Changelings 28%. And definitely, I think the Changeling was a revolutionary story at the time when it was made, because it was made, and then also 2001 was made, and they were released pretty close around the same time. And this movie just evolves the idea of that in such a wonderful way, I think. And I know some people call it Where Nomad Has Gone Before, but that's because there are similarities between the two that I think are pretty beautiful. The way
and what's great is the Changeling predated the Voyager missions. It was an interstellar probe.
True. It absolutely did. That's incredible. That is a really good point. Anyhow, when Booger LARPed, it's funny to say Booger 414 LARPed. He based his Klingon character partially on Dr. Goddarth from Flag Full of Stars.
Flag Full of Stars is a great one, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, at least I got to read the poll, even though it got nuked. It got stopped at 53 votes. So 53 votes, that's not too bad.
No, that's a great turnout.
That's awesome turnout. So I'm fine that it got cut off.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh yeah. If anybody listening is enjoying themselves, please do me a favor and like and subscribe this stream, this channel. I love to have conversations with you, and I'd like to hear from you again and talk to you about this stuff again.
Cool.
Yeah. The carbon unit infestation is to be removed from the creator's planet. You interfere with the creator in the same manner. I think that's a really interesting evolution of this being. They see themselves as the life form, and they don't see humanity, the carbon-based life forms, as true life. And so it's a baby. That's the excuse that V'ger has for all of its destruction. It didn't know what it was doing. It just had this one goal. Anything in its way, it took down. And so that's how they even it out. It's evolving. This child is about to wipe out every living thing on Earth. And now what do you want to suggest we do?
Bank it.
So that's here. I didn't get that. I should have gotten that line, but at least I read it. Oh, here it is.
Now, what do you suggest we do? Spank
it.
Yeah. I reposted the poll results in the chat, says Franco Walker. Thank you so much, Franco. You're awesome. How helpful. And so, of course, V'ger's having the tantrum. I just love this movie. I think...
Well, and I in terms of the tension when V'ger is launching the devices in Earth's orbit, I think that they really did a better job with it. Like, in terms of again with the tension of showing the launch of those and sort of how massive they are. It definitely is an improvement, and I wish I had the theatrical cut. And I know that on the 4K Star Trek films, the box set they released recently, it had the director's cut, or it was either the director's cut or the special edition, and it came with the theatrical cut as well. And I think it's the only way that you can get the theatrical cut on Blu-ray.
Oh, well, there's a way then. Okay, well, that's good. That there's an affordable way to get it.
Did they bother cleaning it up or anything, or was it just a straight transfer? Do you know?
I wish I could say I haven't seen it. I do have the special edition, but I don't have any of the, like, not on DVD and not on Blu-ray for the theatrical cut.
Okay.
Just because I know how much fun we have watching the original series and then sort of giving it a comparison with the upped special effects, and I wanted to take a look at the originals, but unfortunately, that is one copy I don't have.
Well, hopefully it has the outtakes.
Oh, the bloopers?
Or out just things that were edited out, because there was many.
Oh yeah, there were lots of deleted scenes that we didn't even mention today. So this live stream just touches the surface of V'ger. And if you need to learn more, there's tons out there, both in the special features and all the different releases of this movie. And also the book I've been reading from today. I read maybe 2% of it, or less than that. It's like there's 800 pages of this stuff for Return to Tomorrow. Just that is
Logic is not enough.
Oh, I cut myself off. That's great.
Learn all that is learnable.
I think that I really love that, but that comes a little bit later. Here's this. This is the one I meant to play.
Is this all that I am?
Your child is having a tantrum, Mr. Spock.
All right. And is that all I am? Is there nothing more? And that is, that's the question that Spock realizes that V'ger is asking after the mind meld. He understands what's going on with this way more. And that's what Star Trek is about, is understanding.
Yes. That is infinite diversity and infinite combinations, and trying to corner that with our own understanding.
Well, it's amplified earlier when Kirk knows the probes are just being seen as a threat, so not to sound them off, not to use them, because if he had, the Enterprise would have been destroyed. And here, for whatever reason, V'ger knows to give this area of space air.
To support.
Is there air? You don't know.
But there is.
And this is where we get to discover what V'ger actually is.
Yeah, and the first time watching this, it's definitely a big, like, oh, okay, that Voyager, of course. That makes sense. And I do love that they actually got the real model from NASA. He doesn't know to keep it there, though. Writer David Gerrold has made 2 on-screen appearances in Star Trek, once in the Wreck Deck Assembly and the motion picture. The other was 20 years later on the Enterprise crew member in Trials and Tribulations.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
David Gerrold. That is pretty awesome. Oh. Let's see if I can find David Gerrold in here.
In V'ger's memory banks?
Yes.
Yes.
You call David. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's to get the extras. David Gerald was in the scene, so was Millie Wise, Robert's wife, Jimmy Doohan's twin sons, Grace Lee Whitney's son, Scott, Kathleen Sky, and the writer of some Star Trek novels. Together, we used 125 fans scattered in with the regular extras. There were male Deltons in bald caps.
Well, and just to bring it back to my absolute adoration of Gene Roddenberry, I'm curious if Majel Barrett and Susan Sackett were both on set during the Rec Deck assembly, because that would have been, for Gene Roddenberry, you know, somewhat awkward having your wife and your mistress in the same room.
Yeah. And also Susan Sackett's there.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, okay. That's who you meant.
Majel Barrett and Susan Sackett.
Well, he wanted a three-way with Nichelle Nichols and Majel Barrett, so I don't think it would have been too much of a stretch.
No, I don't think so either. And I'm wondering if Majel was, you know, down.
I'm sure once they got married, I doubt that she let him, or I'm sure she at least tried to keep a tight noose on him.
There is the speculation.
Well, because she knew how he was. I mean, that's how she met him.
True. Hey, McPhoenix is here.
Hello there.
Hello to McPhoenix. Great to see you. And here are the clips that I have for this part of the movie.
Learn all that is learnable. As much as you wanted the Enterprise, I want this.
Great to see you, McPhoenix. Sorry I'm late. Yeah, a little bit. But I'm so glad you're here now. And I have a little bit of time to finish off this. I'll be able to finish my slides. Yeah, I think so. Just barely. But I can't touch the pause button again. Is there nothing more? And so this is that overall theme of the V'ger's connection with the creator and how that culminates in Deckard choosing to join with his love. So this is essentially a love story, but science fiction style. And the journey for V'ger to accelerate its ability to continue to learn and a more, instead of just collecting all the data, actually understand what it's collecting.
In that human element, to be able to leap beyond logic, which I appreciate as being a running sort of theme throughout the show and following up in the movie. And
yeah, and I love how the motion picture takes this cool idea of the changeling, evolving it into this, but then not just this, but also so many Star Trek ideas that we see later. My favorite being Data, I think, would be a bit of a evolution of V'ger in terms of having an artificial intelligence who is extremely curious about humanity.
And that's one of the beautiful things about this movie as well, is that it's not, as so many other Star Trek movies have been, just sort of villains bent on revenge of some sort, or like I appreciate that the V'ger and Ilea probe are both more antagonists than anything else. They're not necessarily the villains.
You mean protagonists?
Absolutely.
No, antagonists.
Antagonist, meaning, yeah,
Right.
meaning that they're causing some trouble, but
They're
if
not
you get
malicious.
to know them a little bit,
Right.
they can back off. They can learn. The creator must join VA. Yeah, and he did, and he wanted to, because he knows that Ilea is a part of V'ger, and he wants to be a part of her.
Yes. But again, this is the part where everybody is sort of eased back into who they are, and everyone seems at home again, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, the
We
Beeger sound effects were performed on a blaster beam, a musical instrument invented by Craig Huxley, who was in The Children Shall Lead.
Oh, sweet.
He was the main kid. Unfortunately, oh yeah, it'll have to deal with the human foibles and frailties too. And thank you so much, Toddzilla. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. He says, "Love me some anti-derivative Jill." Thank you so much for the super chat. I'm so glad you're here to talk to us, listen to us talk about a motion picture. We're coming up on the end of the live stream because as much as I want to read the other 755 pages of this book, I have got to go do some life stuff, some real life stuff. Unfortunately, these things have to end eventually, and I couldn't be more appreciative of the time that you decide to share with me today in the chat on the panel. Thank you so much to Cinema Gulp for sharing your really cool movie insight. He's a filmmaker himself. He makes films for his own channel. And he's just one of the coolest guys I've met in the past couple years. And also to that, Scotty R37, thank you for showing up for so many of my live streams to help me talk about these wonderful things that we love.
It is absolutely a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And thanks to the chat for being awesome as well.
Yeah, no, the chat's always awesome. And today they knocked it out of the park in terms of the ideas. Even speaking how I couldn't get through more than a couple of percentages of the book, I couldn't get through more than 10% of the chat. The chat was amazing, incredible, and I wish I had time to acknowledge every single everything, because it is always really, really cool, the ideas and concepts that you guys come up with. And so, Scotty R37, what are you doing around on the internet?
Oh, well, the human adventure is just beginning. So you can catch me on X at ScottyR37 and on the Phantasmagorium show. We're talking about Fargo. We've been going through season 5 of Fargo with Juno Temple and John Hamm. And that's going to be going over the Christmas season. And then on Tuesdays for the original series rewatch for season 3, we're on now. So it is a pleasure talking to Pop Culture Curator and you, Jill, to be able to hang out and talk about Star Trek. It's the entire reason I wanted to be on the internet in the first place.
Wonderful. That was beautiful. And Pop Culture Curator, what are you doing around here on the internet?
Thank you for having me on. Tomorrow night, we're going to be covering the 1990 movie. I'm sorry, I'm mixed up. Tomorrow night is Rumblings from the Lab on Saturday. Monday, we are into episode 2 of season 2 of Lost in Space, the classic. Tuesday night, Sci-Fi Horror Stream is Total Recall from 1990. And then next Wednesday will be Gilligan's Island. And thank you for having me on. It was also good to see you, Scotty.
Cheers.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being here, Pop Culture Curator. Make sure to subscribe to him too. He has an incredible, just natural production insight. It just comes out of him, like he just knows it, and it's really fun to listen to him and his ideas.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, and of course, thanks everybody in the chat. I won't get a chance to shout everybody out because I gotta run. But thank you, James Katsurda, Don, Ranger Power, Princess Fiona, Mick Phoenix, Mark Harkness, Toddzilla, Franco Walker. Oh, we got here. We got so many cool people. Jim's Landscape LLC. He makes his own Star Trek fan movies too, so he's also a filmmaker. So many talented people here on the internet that I'm fortunate enough to know. Matt G, otherwise known as Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and the MCU. Speaking of which, the people who did give me some gifts today, I did have some from Matt G, also Toddzilla, Cinema Gulp, who is also on the panel, Jamalama, and LDG gifted 5 memberships. Thank you again, LDG. You're so amazing. I can't wait for your live stream. RRTNZ Last Son of K also contributed. Thank you. But also thank you to everybody who contributed their conversations in the chat. And if I had another hour, I would hang out a little more because there's still so much to say about this movie. But that's why we get a chance to. We'll have another chance to talk about this because there's no reason, just because this live stream is over, that we ever have to stop talking about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to give up my Star Trek: The Motion Picture avatar. I like me in the
Exactly.
Admiral uniform.
And so, but for now, we do have to end the conversation. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys next time. I'll leave you off with a trailer for the next original series episode because we still have some original series episodes left, and I'm so happy we do. But it is season 3. We just got through Tholian Web, and the next is For the World is Hollow, and I Have Touched the Sky.
Yeah.
Oops. Bye-bye, everybody.
Cheers.
Yeah. Have a great Friday. Make sure to check out Friday Night Frolics, Overlord DVD. Potato Revan's doing an Orville stream tonight. I was invited to it. I can't make it because I got to go out of town. But that should be cool. And just check out, there's lots of fun stuff on the internet, Admiral Teague and everything. And it's just a fun time to be online. I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
He has a year to live at the most. Who is it? The ship's chief medical officer. You.
Is there a woman for you?
No.
I wish you to stay here, on Yonada, as my mate.
Repent your disobedience and agree to the insertion of the instrument of obedience.
He will be told what must be done.
Temperature 111 degrees and rising.
You've located the controls? No, but I've seen the book that contains all the knowledge of the creators.
I will have you put to death.
Help him.
Until you are dead, he will think of you and disobey. I will see you die.
Kirk and Spock have committed sacrilege. The punishment is death.
That way. Learn all that is learnable. As much as you wanted the Enterprise, I want this.
Well, it's been a long time since I delivered a baby. List them as missing.
That away.
All right, move along. Done. Stop it. Get off of the things. Go outside. Get some food. It's like, it's a time of day where you live. Go do something. Shut up, Snoopy. I don't care. You smoke too much. Let's go. Let's go adventure. Let's go explore.
And the ways our differences combine to create meaning.